Chapter 1243. The little girl's face was filled with stubbornness. Her bright eyes were filled with resentment as she glared at Wang Mujing. "You still dare to be stubborn." Slap. Wang Mujing raised his hand and slapped the little girl's face. In an instant, a blood-red mark appeared on the little girl's pink cheek. Even so, the little girl did not cry. Her bright eyes were fixed on Wang Mujing without fear. "Young mistress." And Ziheo's heart ached. His hands clenched into fists as he felt powerless. He had caused Yun Luofeng's death. He was unable to protect young mistress. What was the point of a useless person like him living? At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the arena. No one paid any attention to Ziheo and the little girl. Even if they had paid attention, they would not have helped them. In the arena, smoke and dust scattered in all directions. Huli stared blankly at the ruins of the arena in front of him. He still could not believe that he had really killed that young girl. However, at this moment, the smoke and dust that had covered everyone's eyes gradually dissipated, revealing the scene above the ruins. They saw a beautiful young girl standing above the ruins. Her white robes were stained with dust and part of her sleeve had been torn off. The young girl's arm was bleeding and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her originally fair face was now somewhat dirty. The white cloth covering her eyes had also fallen off and floated in the breeze. In an instant, the crowd quietened down. Wang Mujing's maniacal laughter came to an abrupt halt. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief and stared in shock at the young girl standing above the ruins. She's not dead? This woman who should have died was actually still alive? Wang Mujing gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with intense hatred as he stared fixedly at Yun Luofeng. If looks could kill, Yun Luofeng's body would have been riddled with holes. "So you're still alive." Hu Li's heart finally calmed down. "I knew that this move of mine would not be able to kill you. Yun Luofeng, you're very strong." "I concede defeat." Admitted defeat? The crowd's eyes widened in shock. Hu Li, who was ranked 10th on the heaven list, admitted defeat? "Remember your promise. Serve me loyally for 10 years. Yun Luofeng wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth. Her gaze slowly swept downwards, and she saw Ziheo, who was surrounded and beaten up by those people, and the little loli, who had a clear 5-fingered mark on her face. Wang Mujing grabbed the little loli's body and took a few steps back. "Yun Luofeng, don't come over. If you come over, I'll kill her." Yun Luofeng acted as though he hadn't heard Wang Mujing's words and continued walking towards him. "I'm not joking with you. If you dare to take another step forward, I will really kill her." Wang Mujing gritted his teeth. He saw that Yun Luofeng did not show any signs of stopping. He instantly took out a dagger and placed it on the little loli's neck. "Miss!" And Ziheo's heart almost skipped a beat. His eyes were filled with anger and anxiety. "Wang Mujing, stop. If you dare to touch Miss, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." The little loli didn't have much of a reaction. She blinked her bright eyes and looked at Yun Luofeng without blinking. She was fine. "That's great. If something really happened to her, Brother Ziheo and I would definitely regret it for the rest of our lives. Yun Luofeng, you forced me to do this." Chapter 1244. Wang Mujing gritted his teeth fiercely. He knew that Yun Luofeng would not let him go. Since that was the case, he would make the first move. Thinking of this, he raised the dagger in his hand and stabbed it fiercely towards the little girl's chest. Just as the dagger was about to stab into her chest, a strong pressure came from the front, causing his fingers to stiffen. The dagger could no longer move forward. Instantly, his eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Yun Luofeng with a pale face. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had already walked in front of the little girl. His slender fingers gently stroked her delicate face as he lowered his gaze and asked, "Does it hurt?" The little girl shook her head and said in a childish voice, "It doesn't hurt. Compared to Brother Ziheo, it doesn't hurt." "Do you want to kill him?" Yun Luofeng continued to ask. The little girl was stunned. She looked at the pale Wang Mujing behind her and nodded. "Yes, they bullied Brother Ziheo. I want to kill them." Her voice was still immature, but it was filled with determination. "All right, I'll give you the sword. Go kill them." Yun Luofeng handed the sword in his hand to the little girl. "Remember, don't show mercy to those who bully you." The little girl's hand trembled as she took the sword from Yun Luofeng's hand. She turned around and stabbed the tip of the sword towards Wang Mujing's chest. Jinger! Wang Yizhi shouted angrily. Yun Luofeng, you will get what you deserve. You will definitely get what you deserve. As soon as Wang Yizhi finished speaking, the little girl's sword had already pierced Wang Mujing's chest. At this moment, she felt refreshed all over. It was something she had never felt before. So, killing an enemy would give her such a thrill. Wang Mujing's eyes widened as his body gradually fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with fear. Just now, he had wanted to dodge, but under Yun Luofeng's pressure, he couldn't even move a finger. He could only watch as the sword, which emitted a cold light, entered his chest. Everyone in the arena was dumbfounded. No one had expected Yun Luofeng to actually dare to kill someone on the spot. Those who are kind will be bullied by others. Yun Luofeng acted as if he did not see those people's shocked gazes. He lowered his gaze and said, "If you don't want to be bullied by others, you have to become strong." Kind people get bullied. The little girl nodded her head sensibly. From now on, I won't be bullied anymore. I have to protect myself and brother Zaheo. And Zaheo was only her bodyguard, but he had accompanied her for many years. In her heart, he was already like family. Hearing the little lowly's tender voice, and Zaheo's emotions became somewhat complicated. In his heart, his young miss had always been naive and innocent. He would never let her worry about her livelihood, let alone let her come into contact with the evils of the human heart. No matter how hard and tired he was, he would not let her suffer in the slightest. Now that he thought about it, was his way of thinking all along wrong? What if one day he left the young miss forever? How would the young miss, who had no ability to survive on the mainland? Sigh. Mu Ran smiled bitterly. This girl's temper is as fierce as what Chen Yuqing said. She is not willing to suffer any losses. But now, she's actually teaching a little girl how to kill people. Hee hee, Ji Yen said with some schadenfreude. Mu Ran, I won't fight with you over this girl. With her personality, she will definitely attract a lot of trouble. It's better for you to follow behind her and clean up. Oh, that's right. You have to help her solve the current situation first. Chapter 1245. Just as he finished speaking, a stern voice rang out from outside the noisy crowd. Get out of the way. Everyone get out of the way. After hearing this voice, everyone subconsciously opened up a path, allowing the armored people behind them to pass. Among those people, the leader was a middle-aged man with a serious expression. He slowly walked in front of Yun Luofeng and said expressionlessly, Yun Luofeng, you are extremely audacious. You dare to kill someone in public. Immediately, we will go to the penal court to be punished. Wait. Huli leaped and landed in front of Yun Luofeng when she saw that the people were about to take Yun Luofeng away. Yun Luofeng has already entered the Heaven List and is a disciple of the Heaven List. How dare the Steward's Hall capture her? Once she entered the Heaven List, her status would change greatly. Even the Steward's Hall leader would not be able to touch her. Lord Tianyu, you have to uphold justice for my nephew. Wang Yizhi reacted and quickly rushed to Meng Tianyu's feet. He said tearfully, my nephew died unjustly. You have to uphold justice for us. Meng Tianyu's eyes darkened and he sneered at Yun Luofeng. So what if she defeated you? The Steward's Hall has the right to take her back. Even if we don't have the right to punish her, we can hand her over to the elders. Are you trying to say that a disciple of the Heaven List has more power than an elder? Furthermore, our academy has not recognized her as a disciple of the Heaven List. This meant that the academy had not recognized her and she was not a disciple of the Heaven List. The Steward's Hall had the right to take her back. Huli narrowed her eyes and sneered as she stood in front of Yun Luofeng. It doesn't matter if you don't recognize her. I've been in the Heaven List for 3 to 5 years. I don't know if I have the right to make you go back based on my status. Meng Tianyu's eyes darkened. Huli, do you really want to make an enemy of the Steward's Hall? Make an enemy? Huli smiled and said sarcastically, are you even worthy? In an instant, Meng Tianyu's expression changed. Just as he was about to speak, Mu Ran was already standing next to Yun Luofeng. Meng Tianyu, this Yun Luofeng is already a member of our mourning hall. I'm afraid it won't be that easy for your Steward's Hall to capture a disciple of our mourning hall. Mu Ran wore a faint smile on her face as she looked at Meng Tianyu with an indifferent gaze. Meng Tianyu's face darkened once more. Not only did Huli protect a mere Yun Luofeng, but even the hallmaster of the morning hall was biased towards her. Huli, Hallmaster Mu Ran, I will go back and report to our hallmaster. Then he will make a decision. Let's go. Meng Tianyu waved his hand and led a group of people from the steward's hall away. After Mu Ran saw Meng Tianyu leave, he retracted his gaze and smiled bitterly at Yun Luofeng. Did you really have to kill him on the spot? Can't you just bear with it? No. Yun Luofeng's words silenced Mu Ran. He shook his head helplessly, and the smile on his face became even more bitter. Moreover, he was the one who attacked first, threatening me with Aurelia's life. Arale? This name is really strange. Mu Ran was stunned for a moment, and his face was filled with speechlessness. The little lowly was also stunned. She weakly explained, my name is not Arale. My name is Ji Fei. And Zihao, take her back first and let her recuperate from her injuries. Leave the rest to me. Yun Luofeng glanced at the little lowly, then turned to Zihao and spoke. And Zihao crawled up from the ground, his face filled with guilt. I'm sorry, Miss Yun. We've dragged you down again. Chapter 1246. Brother Zihao, let's go. The little girl pursed her lips slightly and looked at Yun Luofeng with her big bright eyes. I will remember your words. In the future, I will not continue to be so weak. She looked at Yun Luofeng one last time, turned around and supported Zihao as they walked out, gradually disappearing from her sight. Do you need any help? Mu Ran looked at Yun Luofeng and asked with a bitter smile. No need. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin as a dangerous light flashed across his slightly narrowed eyes. I can handle it myself. The elders in the academy were divided into two factions. Similarly, the elders' office was also divided into the east and the west. The elders' office, where Su Kong and the others were, was in the east. At this moment, a panicked figure appeared outside the elders' office. When he saw the people guarding the door, he ran over and said while panting, Quickly inform the elders, something has happened. Steward Jean, the elders are busy and have given the order that they will not see anyone who comes to disturb them. The guard at the door frowned slightly and refused the old man's request. The old man wiped the sweat from his forehead. Hurry up and inform the elders. Otherwise, it will really be too late. Tell the elders that something has happened to Miss Yun. When the guard saw the old man's panicked look, he thought for a moment and said, I will inform the elders, but whether they are willing to see you or not is not something I can decide. The atmosphere in the elders' office was very strict. Many elders sat upright, their faces filled with helplessness and worry. The people from the Continent Lord's mansion have just given the order for everyone above the Holy Spirit stage to encircle and kill the Ghost Emperor. Su Kong rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. It is said that those who had gone before were all killed by the Ghost Emperor. Ling Hai's expression was very ugly. We have been busy with that matter recently, yet there are still people who think that we are not free enough. Furthermore, we do not even know the Ghost Emperor's strength and yet we are sending ourselves to their doorstep. Isn't that courting death? Those old fellows in the West Elder Hall have already agreed. Now, only we are left. Void, I think it's best if we don't get involved in this mess. Xue Ying frowned slightly as she tapped her finger on the table. After all, this Ghost Emperor managed to escape from the pursuit of so many people. He even grew to his current state. His fear is definitely beyond imagination. It would be great if the headmaster came back. Unfortunately, the headmaster has been gone for so many years, and there is still no news of his whereabouts. The expressions of the elders grew more and more worried. During the time that the headmaster wasn't around, there wasn't even a person in charge. Elders. Suddenly, a voice came from outside the door, causing Su Kong and the others to frown. Didn't you say that you're not allowed to disturb us if there's nothing wrong? Who allowed you to come in? Su Kong's face darkened as he scolded sternly. A layer of cold sweat appeared on the guard's forehead. Elders, Butler Jean is here to seek an audience. He said that Miss Yun is in danger. What? With a loud bang, Ling Hai smashed his fist on the table. He stood up angrily. My precious disciple is in danger? Who has the guts to lay a hand on my disciple? Let Manager Jean in immediately. Yes, sir. After he finished speaking, the guard retreated. Not long after, the old man hurriedly rushed in from the door. In an instant, The gazes of the 5 elders all landed on the old man. Chapter 1247. What happened? Sukong's expression darkened. What danger did Fenger encounter? The old man looked at the 5 elders carefully. Elders, Miss Yun returned not long ago. However, Wang Yiji deliberately made things difficult for Miss Yun in order to avenge his nephew. Wang Yiji? That bastard again? Ling Hai's eyes were filled with anger. Why did Wang Yiji have the chance to cause trouble for my precious disciple? Didn't I arrange for Wang Yiji to go somewhere else? The old man wiped his sweat and continued. I don't know what happened either. The hall that Wang Yiji brought is where Miss Yun is. He is certain that Miss Yun did not apply for leave and wants to expel her from the academy. If Miss Yun does not want to leave, she must endure 100 lashes from him. Ling Hai clenched his fists tightly as he gritted his teeth. Wang Yiji, who gave him the guts to hit my disciple? Shui Ying and the others stood up anxiously. How is Miss Yun? Did Wang Yiji injure her? Wang Yiji injured Yun Luofeng? The old man laughed bitterly when he heard this. Yun Luofeng was a Holy Spirit practitioner. How could Wang Yiji possibly injure her? Elders, don't worry. Miss Yun is not injured. Instead, she injured Wang Yiji. Hearing this, Shui Ying heaved a sigh of relief. She rubbed her chest and slowly exhaled. It's good that she's not injured. I was almost scared to death. Wang Yiji, that bastard, is really audacious. I'll settle the score with him later. What's next? Sukong continued to ask. Wang Yiji reported Miss Yun to the steward's hall. The people from the steward's hall wanted to punish Miss Yun. It was Hallmaster Mu Ran who spoke up for Miss Yun. However, the people from the steward's hall thought that Miss Yun was at fault. In the end, they came to an agreement. If Miss Yun can make it to the Earthroll within 5 days, they'll let her go. What? Ling Hai, who had just sat down and had yet to take a sip of tea to calm himself down, slammed the table and stood up when he heard this. Make it to the Earthroll within 5 days? My disciple is quite talented. Unfortunately, she hasn't started cultivating yet. Aren't they forcing her? By the way, you said my disciple injured Wang Yiji? As far as I know, Wang Yiji is a venerable spiritualist. How did my disciple injure him? The old man wiped his sweat again. Miss Yun has already made it to the Earthroll. Puff. Sukong had just taken a sip of tea when he spat it out because of these words. Emptiness, who was sitting opposite him, was more unlucky. He was sprayed all over his face and his face was filled with resentment. Did you just say that the Yun girl has charged up the Earthroll? Shui Ying was stunned as she asked in disbelief. The old man nodded. She made it to the Earthroll, but the person she defeated was Hu Lin, the brother of the Heaven Rolls Hu Li. Sukong narrowed his eyes. Did Hu Li take revenge for his brother and injure my disciple? He would never let off anyone who hurt his disciple. No. The old man shook his head and said, Hu Li challenged Miss Yun to a fight, but in the end, he admitted defeat. Admit defeat. The elders looked at each other, and the shock in their eyes deepened. Hu Li fought with Yun Luofeng but admitted defeat? Could it be that Yun Luofeng was stronger than Hu Li? Steward Jean, hurry up and tell us what happened. Shui Ying frowned and continued to ask. Chapter 1248. Who was it that dared to touch our disciple? A cold light flashed across Shui Ying's eyes and her voice was extremely cold. Elder Shui Ying, Yun Luofeng has 2 friends in the academy. Wang Mujing thought that Yun Luofeng had died in Hu Li's hands, so she injured Yun Luofeng's friend. Yun Luofeng wanted to settle the score with Wang Mujing, but who knew that Wang Mujing would capture her friend and use her friend's life to threaten him, so... The old man didn't say anything else, but the 5 elders understood what had happened. Humph. Ling Hai scoffed. Wang Mujing was courting death, she can't blame anyone else. My disciple did not do anything wrong. Could it be that the people from the duty hall are going to settle the score with my disciple? That's right. The elder nodded. The people from the duty hall are going to pursue the matter. That's not right, Shui Ying frowned slightly. My disciple defeated Hu Li and was able to enter the heaven list. Why would the people from the duty hall have the guts to look for her? The elder looked at the elders carefully. The people from the duty hall said that the academy will not recognize Miss Yun's identity. Ha ha ha. Ling Hai laughed maniacally. Since when did the duty hall have the right to make decisions in the academy? How dare they bully my disciple? I will make them pay the price. Boom. Ling Hai punched the wall, creating a huge hole in it. Immediately after, his figure rushed out of the hole. Let's go too. Shui Ying's beautiful eyes darkened. After all, I'm not dead yet and someone dares to bully me. These people from the duty hall are too much. Just as the elder went to call for reinforcements, the people from the duty hall found Yun Luofeng again. This time, it was the leader of the duty hall, Zhuo Wan. Perhaps it was because of Mu Ran and Hu Li, but they did not forcefully escort Yun Luofeng. Instead, they invited her over. When Hu Li and Mu Ran received the news, Yun Luofeng had already left with the people from the duty hall. At this moment, in the penal hall that was filled with torture devices, Zhuo Wan sat high up on a black wooden chair. His expression was stern as he looked at the young girl below and said in a cold voice, Yun Luofeng, do you know your crimes? The girl's demonic aura was awe-inspiring as a smile appeared on her beautiful face. Her body was languid and evil as she lifted her eyes to look at Zhuo Wan. Your steward's hall invited me here as a guest. Is this the attitude of a guest? Not even a chair? Zhuo Wen's eyes sank and he said in a cold voice, Yun Luofeng, what kind of place do you take my duty hall to be? Let me tell you today, you can only live if I want you to live. If I want you to die, you must die. Yun Luofeng lazily raised the corner of his lips. How many gifts did Wang Yizhi give you? Zhuo Wan was stunned. His face was filled with anger as if someone had seen through him. He shouted, Yun Luofeng, my duty hall has always been impartial. Let alone the fact that you're not a disciple of the heavenly role. Even if you're in the heavenly role, as long as you make a mistake, I have the right to punish you. The academy was a place that focused on geniuses. Therefore, as long as one entered the heaven ranking, his authority would be higher than the hall masters of the various halls. But there was one exception. That was, the academy was not allowed to kill fellow students, even if they were geniuses on the heaven roll. If a genius on the heaven roll made a mistake, the duty hall also had the right to punish them. Someone, drag Yun Luofeng away and punish him severely with a branding iron. Yes. After Zhuo Wen's words fell, two people immediately stepped forward and tried to stop Yun Luofeng's body. However, before the two of them could touch Yun Luofeng, there was a bang. A wave of energy surged out of her body and forced the two of them back a few steps. Chapter 1249. Get lost. The girl's thin lips parted slightly, her evil eyes sweeping over the two people she had pushed back. Her beautiful face was cold. Yun Luofeng. Zhuo Wan stood up angrily. Did you think I invited you here just to be a guest? I just tricked you into coming to the criminal court. When you get here, you won't be able to call for help. No one can save you. Yun Luofeng raised her hand and pulled the iron torture chair to her side. She flicked her sleeves and sat down. She propped her head up with the back of her hand and looked at Zhuo Wan with a faint smile. Then do you think you can punish me? Lazy, evil, cold, domineering. These 4 words could not be more suitable to describe the young girl today. Zhuo Wen's eyes narrowed with anger. He slammed his palm on the table and stood up angrily. Yun Luofeng, I'll show you now if I can punish you. In an instant, the power in Zhuo Wen's body surged and he quickly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. Stop. Mu Ran hurriedly rushed in from outside. When he saw Zhuo Wan attack Yun Luofeng, his old face immediately became furious. His figure flashed and he quickly rushed in front of Yun Luofeng, raising his hand to block Mu Ran's attack. Boom! The two palms collided and Zhuo Wan took a few steps back. His expression darkened and became hazy. Mu Ran, I advise you to mind your own business. Ha ha! Mu Ran sneered and flicked his sleeves, standing in front of Yun Luofeng. Then I'm really going to mind my own business. Zhuo Wan sneered. So you're going to protect the woman who committed the murder? Although it was the little lowly who killed Wang Mujing, it was Yun Luofeng who ordered it. Wang Yizhi also put all the blame on Yun Luofeng. As for the little lowly, as long as Yun Luofeng was dead, wouldn't she be at his mercy? Zhuo Wan, if Wang Mujing hadn't wanted to kill him first, he wouldn't have been killed. Everything has a cause and effect. Why do you put the blame on the Yun girl? Mu Ran flicked his sleeves, looking like a sage. In my opinion, let's just forget about this. The Yun girl didn't do anything wrong. Humph. Zhuo Wen's eyes were gloomy. If I don't punish her, and word gets out, people will think that our West Continent Academy has no rules. A life for a life, no matter if she's on the heaven roll or earth roll. Since you said that a murderer should pay with his life, And Wang Mujing was the one who attacked first. Is he not at fault? Mu Ran furrowed his brows and felt a little angry in his heart. You said Wang Mujing made the first move? Zhuo Wen sneered. Then is she dead? She and that little girl didn't die. So what right does she have to kill Wang Mujing? Mu Ran took a deep breath. He decided not to waste any more words with Zhuo Wen. He turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Yun girl, leave this place first. I'll take care of this for you. Yun Luofeng smiled devilishly and stood up lazily from her chair. Her lips curled into an angle as she looked at Zhuo Wen with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Muran, he wants to kill you. Mu Ran was stunned and looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. He wanted to kill Zhuo Wen? What was going on? Since when did he want to kill him? Yun Luofeng continued to smile and said, he wanted to kill you a long time ago. You Mu Ran. Zhuo Ran flew into a rage and turned to Mu Ran angrily. You actually want to kill me? Then I'll kill you first. Let's see how you're going to kill me. Chapter 1250. Mu Ran was dumbfounded. Could he say that he was innocent? But Yun Luofeng did not give Mu Ran the chance to speak. She shrugged and continued, what you're doing is a little inhumane. Mu Ran only wanted to kill you. He didn't actually kill you. I think it's better for you to make peace. Yun Luofeng spoke with sincerity. No one could see any lies on her face. Make peace? Dream on. How could I give him a chance to kill me? Zhuo Wen gritted his teeth. Mu Ran, you wanted to kill me. Even if the elders of the college stop me, I must kill you today. Yun Luofeng laughed. Her laughter was exceptionally clear in the quiet penal court. I was just joking just now, but... She paused, her eyes turning slightly. You also know that if someone wants to kill you, you have to strike first and not give them any chance to make a move. Why is it that when it comes to others it changes? Zhuo Wen's expression abruptly changed. Only now did he realize that Yun Luofeng had set a trap for him. Yun Luofeng. He roared and rushed towards Yun Luofeng again. Murderous intent surged from his body as if he wanted to kill the girl with one blow. Wang Yizhi appeared out of nowhere. His venomous eyes stared at Yun Luofeng, who was suffering from Zhuo Wen's attack. There was a cold light in the corners of his eyes. Yun Luofeng, you killed my nephew. If I don't avenge him, I am not a man. Yun Luofeng looked coldly at Zhuo Wen, who was closing in on her. Her expression did not change. Her beautiful face still had an evil smile. Stop. Boom. In an instant, an angry roar suddenly sounded. It was like a drumstick hitting Zhuo Wen's chest. In an instant, his body was thrown into the air. Fresh blood flowed out of his mouth. He raised his terrified eyes and looked at the group of elders who were striding in from outside the door. His face turned from pale white to astonishment, and his eyes were filled with deep astonishment. Elder Su Kong, Elder Ling Hai. You. Why are you here? Zhuo Wen didn't know what was going on when he saw these people charging at him furiously. His mind buzzed, and he didn't understand how he had offended these elders. Ling Hai dashed forward and kicked Zhuo Wen, who had just crawled up, into the air. His face was very ugly and his anger was overflowing. Zhuo Wen, how dare you? Who allowed you to set up a private punishment in the steward's hall? Especially, he even dared to lay his hands on a weak girl? Zhuo Wen was dumbfounded. He was just punishing a disciple. How did he attract these old fellows? Could it be that Hu Li went to invite them? Furthermore, the weak girl that Elder Ling Hai spoke of, was she really Yun Luofeng? If this woman was a weak woman, then there wouldn't be any evil women in this world. Thinking of this, Zhuo Wen took a deep breath. He suppressed the panic in his heart and explained, Elders, listen to me. What Hu Li said is only his side of the story. Don't believe him. This woman dared to commit murder in public. She has committed a heinous crime and should be punished with death. Therefore, I am only punishing her according to the rules of the academy. Elders, you will definitely investigate this matter and decide who is right and who is wrong. You won't be blinded by some treacherous people. The treacherous people that he spoke of were people like Yun Luofeng. Chapter 1251. Ling Hai laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with anger. Zhuo Wen, you still dare to shirk responsibility at a time like this? He gritted his teeth and glared at Zhuo Wen. You should quit your job as the hallmaster of the steward hall. Pack up the shop and get lost. Zhuo Wen's mind was blown. He didn't understand why Ling Hai wanted him to get lost. Just because he took care of Yun Luofeng? Elder Ling Hai. Zhuo Wen wanted to continue defending himself, but he saw that the elders were already walking towards Yun Luofeng. My precious disciple, are you hurt? Don't worry, I will definitely get revenge for you. When Ling Hai said this, he turned around and glared at Zhuo Wen. Rumble. Zhuo Wen felt as if his brain had been struck by lightning. His face was full of shock. Yun Luofeng was Ling Hai's disciple. Was this a joke? How could this be? But what shocked Zhuo Wen even more was that Ling Hai's concern for him made the other elders look at Yun Luofeng nervously. Feng, did Zhuo Wen hurt you? If he hurt you, the 5 of us will definitely not let him leave. You are our disciple, but you were bullied when we weren't paying attention, and you were even brought to the penal hall. If we don't get revenge for you, if word gets out, where will the 5 of us put our faces? The more the 5 elders spoke, the angrier they became. All of their sharp gazes shot towards Zhuo Wen. Zhuo Wen was completely dumbfounded. He originally thought that Yun Luofeng was at most Ling Hai's disciple, but according to the current situation, the 5 elders were all his masters? Oh my God! He had offended all the elders of the East Courtyard. Wang Yizhi took 2 steps back, his face extremely pale. He turned around and wanted to escape, but at this moment, a nightmarish voice made his body freeze. Where do you think you're going? Su Kong was expressionless as he looked coldly at Wang Yizhi. Wang Yizhi wiped the sweat off his forehead and smiled awkwardly at Su Kong. Elder Su Kong, this matter has nothing to do with me. It was all my nephew's fault. Please let me go this time. If I knew that Yun Luofeng was your disciple, I wouldn't dare to do it even if I had 100 guts. Let you go? Void sneered. You made such a big mistake, why should I let you go? From tomorrow onwards, I'll let Steward Jean take over the steward's hall. Your crimes will be judged by him. Thump. Wang Yizhi's legs went soft, and he fell heavily to the ground. He knew that he had no way out this time. Elder Void, Zhuo Wen gritted his teeth. You want to remove me from my position, do the elders of the West Courtyard agree? Void looked at him coldly. Can't you just hand over your resignation? Why is Elder Su Kong so sure that I will hand in my resignation letter? Zhuo Wen clenched his fists tightly. If he left the academy, he would not have a better future. Therefore, he would definitely not be willing to hand in his resignation letter. Void raised his eyebrows. Hand in your resignation letter yourself, or from tomorrow onwards, the world will know that you died of a heart attack. 2 paths. Choose for yourself. Zhuo Wen's body swayed a few times, and finally fell to the ground. His face was extremely pale, and his eyes were filled with despair as he stared deeply at the elders in front of him. Ling Hai rubbed his nose. For the first time, he realized that Void was so black-bellied. If Zhuo Wen wanted to live, he could only hand in his resignation letter. Otherwise, he wouldn't mind killing him. Chapter 1252. Tomorrow, I will hand in my resignation. After saying these words, Zhuo Wen felt all the strength in his body disappear and he lay on the ground weakly. Why didn't you do this earlier? Shui Ying's beautiful eyes swept past Zhuo Wen's body and landed on Yun Luofeng. She smiled and said, Yun girl, we will take care of this matter. You have also suffered a lot of shock. Go back and have a good rest. Yun Luofeng nodded. She took one last look at the elders, turned around and walked out. To be honest, the reason why Yun Luofeng came to the penal hall was because she had the ability to protect herself. However, the appearance of the elders still touched her heart. Huli stood at the door. He had arrived late but he had seen everything that had just happened. Hence, when he saw Yun Luofeng walking towards his door, he laughed involuntarily. Yun Luofeng, I didn't think that you would be the disciple of the Academy's elders. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks. Even without the masters, no one can stop me from killing someone if I want to. Isn't the purpose of a person's life to seek revenge? How could she suppress herself? Huli smiled. I realize that I am becoming more and more interested in you. Perhaps I won't be too bored following you for the next 10 years. In the beginning, Huli felt sad that he had sold himself for 10 years. But now, he realized that if he stayed by Yun Luofeng's side, his days in the future would be very exciting. At this moment, the elders of the West Courtyard were investigating the murderer because of Yao Mingqi's incident. When they came back to their senses, the steward's hall had already changed owners. They wanted to settle the score later, but everything was already a foregone conclusion. They could only swallow their anger. Zhua Wan of the steward's hall was personally trained by Yao Shu. Now that he was chased out of the academy and Steward Jean was promoted, how could he not be angry? Hence, his hatred towards the East Courtyard grew stronger and stronger. Before returning home, Yun Luofeng purposely changed her clothes and healed the injuries on her body. Even so, when Yun Xiao saw her for the first time, his breathing suddenly tightened. "You're injured." Yun Luofeng was startled. She had already healed most of her injuries, but the man before her eyes could still see through her. "I just fought with someone. It's nothing serious." Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and slowly walked towards Yun Xiao. She reached out and gently wrapped her arms around the man in front of her, burying her head in his chest. "Yun Xiao, let's have a baby." "Children?" Those two words caused the light in Yun Xiao's eyes to gradually soften. He raised his hands and hugged the young girl tightly. After a while, he finally reacted and furrowed his brows. "Don't change the subject. Tell me who hurt you." Murderous intent surged from his body, and a cold aura arose spontaneously. Yun Luofeng believed that if he said Hu Li's name, he would definitely rush to the Western Continent Academy and tear that fox-like man into pieces. "I'm fine now. Don't worry. I didn't lose this battle." Yun Zhao's eyes stared intently at Yun Luofeng. "I know that you want to rely on your own strength to fight, but when the time is right, you can rely on me. My power exists to protect you. I do not wish for you to suffer any injuries." "All right." Yun Luofeng lifted her head and kissed the man's lips. Suddenly, she seemed to have discovered something and slightly narrowed her eyes. "Did someone come today?" Chapter 1253. Yun Luofeng has always been very sensitive to smells. Hence, the faintly discernible fragrance wafting out from the courtyard caused a cold glint to flash across Yun Luofeng's eyes. Yun Xiao nodded honestly. "A woman sneaked into our house and secretly ate the pastries I made. However, I've already made her spit them out and crippled her." Perhaps she was afraid that Yun Luofeng would be angry. Yun Xiao hurriedly explained. "I didn't let her dirty our territory." The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile as he narrowed his eyes. "Looks like I can't leave your side in the future. Otherwise, who knows how many women will want to seduce you. They can't. In this world, the only person who can get close to him is Yun Luofeng." Yun Zhao's eyes darkened and a light flashed across his grim eyes. However, no one knew what he was thinking. The next day, after Yun Luofeng had breakfast, she headed to the academy. Yun Xiao stood at the doorway as he watched her leave, his deep and serene eyes unable to see the bottom. "Yun Xiao, are you thinking of going to the academy to find master?" Little Mo had unknowingly walked up from behind him. Her large, bright eyes blinked slightly as she looked at Yun Xiao curiously. Yun Xiao's gaze became even colder. "I'm worried about her." Little Mo blinked. "It's already past the registration period. You can't go to the academy even if you want to." As if she had not heard Little Mo's words, Yun Xiao strode out. After a long while, a grim voice rang in Little Mo's ears. "Follow me." Little Mo curled her lips and hurriedly chased after Yun Xiao, disappearing under the bright sunlight. As Yun Luofeng had defeated Hu Li of the Heaven Roll, he had successfully entered the Heaven Roll. As a disciple of the Heaven Roll, he did not need to attend classes and only needed to stay in the cultivation room to cultivate every day. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had just sat down in his room and had not even had time to cultivate when a clamor sounded from outside the door. "What's going on?" She stood up from the mat and walked towards the door. The moment she opened the door, she saw a fair-skinned and handsome young man standing in front of her door. As soon as he saw her, he got straight to the point and said, "Yun Luofeng, I saw your battle with Hu Li yesterday, so I came to look for you." "You also want to challenge me?" Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the youth's handsome face. The young man blushed. No, I'm not here to challenge you. I'm here to confess to you." "Farewell?" Yun Luofeng was stunned for a moment. His brows furrowed slightly. "I'm not interested." After saying that, she was about to close the door. "Wait." The young man hurried forward and extended his hand to stop Yun Luofeng from closing the door. His face was filled with sincerity. "After watching your battle yesterday, I realized that you're the most domineering woman I've ever seen. Especially the scene of you dealing with Wang Mujing. It made me very excited. Yun Luofeng, you can give me a chance. Do you want to scram yourself, or do you want me to help you? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows, his domineering eyes sweeping over the young man's blushing face. The young man wanted to continue speaking, but at this moment, an enchanting voice rang out from behind him. You Zizia, you already have a fiancé and you still want to pester Yun Luofeng? Huli waved his fan and walked over with a face full of smiles. He slowly walked to Yun Luofeng's side and winked at her. Even if Yun Luofeng accepts me, he'll never accept you. Chapter 1254. Yu Zijia's expression was a little awkward. My fiancé has nothing to do with me. It was decided by my parents, but I have the right to pursue my true love. You know him? Yun Luofeng ignored Yu Zijia and turned to look at Hu Li, the person ranked first on the Earth list. Hu Li said in a low voice. He's only half a step away from becoming a holy king. As for his fiancée, he paused, then continued, she's ranked second on the Earth list. Although both of them are on the Earth list, their families are very powerful in the Western continent. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and turned to enter the room. You know him. You deal with him for me. Hu Li's mouth twitched. As a little follower, he had to deal with his master's suitor? Cough cough. Hu Li coughed dryly. You Zizia, you should go back. Don't bother her. Don't forget, you already have a fiancé. Yu Zizia looked at Yun Luofeng, who had entered the room, and sighed softly. He turned around and left with a helpless expression. But this would not make him give up. No matter what, he would move Yun Luofeng. Early in the morning, because of Yu Zijia's actions, Yun Luofeng was once again embroiled in rumors. The entire academy was saying that she had taken a fancy to Yu Zijia's family. That was why she had seduced Yu Zijia and snatched his fiancé away. A woman like this, no matter how talented she was still disdainful. At this moment, Yun Luofeng's cultivation room was surrounded by a group of women. The leader of those people was a beautiful woman. At this moment, she had her hands on her hips and was glaring angrily. Yun Luofeng, don't think that you're great just because you entered the heaven list. Wasn't that because Hu Li let you go? But it's not enough that you seduced Hu Li. You even dared to seduce my fiancé. Get out here immediately. That's right. In her eyes, the person who had lost that battle might not have been Hu Li. If Hu Li had not let her go, she might have been beaten to the ground. Scram! The door to the room was blown open by a gust of wind, and a force shot out from within. Even though he quickly used his sleeves to block it, he was still pushed back a few steps by this force. The anger in her chest became even more intense. Yun Luofeng, isn't it enough that you have Hu Li? Why don't you let my fiancé go as well? I know, Hu Li's family can't compare to my fiancé's, so you want to capture these two men in your hands. How can there be such a cheap woman like you in this world? Bang! The door was opened once again, and a girl in snow-white clothes strode out. For some reason, the moment the woman saw the white-robed girl, she felt her breathing tighten, as if a rock was pressing down on her body. Yu Zijia's fiancé? The young girl lifted her chin slightly, looking down at the group of people in front of her. Her eyes were filled with arrogance, and her deep black eyes were filled with dominance. Go back and tell Yu Zijia not to bother me. People like him. I don't like them. The woman's expression changed drastically. If she said that she didn't like her fiancé, wouldn't that be insulting her? Yun Luofeng, who do you think you are? Is the heaven list that amazing? Let me tell you, as long as I want to enter the heaven list, I can beat you down at any time. You actually dare to look down on my fiancé. Chapter 1255. Senior sister Zhua Yun is right. Senior brother Yu is already outstanding enough. How dare you look down on him? He's the only one who looks down on you. You have no right to be picky. Is it reasonable for you to seduce someone else's fiancé? The group of women behind Zhua Yun spoke up one after another. They all glared angrily at Yun Luofeng. Clearly in their eyes, Yun Luofeng was an unforgivable evil. Zhua Yun. Yu Zijia, who had rushed over after hearing the news, saw Zhua Yun standing in front of Yun Luofeng. His expression changed drastically. He hurried forward and said angrily, "What are you doing here? This has nothing to do with Miss Yun. I'm the one who has taken a fancy to her." Zhua Yun's eyes reddened when she saw Yu Zijia's protection of Yun Luofeng. She felt so wrong that tears were about to fall. What's so good about this woman? Why are you protecting her? Shut up. Yu Zijia raised his hand and slapped Zhua Yun harshly. Zhua Yun was stunned by this slap. She raised her head in disbelief and stared at Yu Zijia, as if she hadn't expected that he would ruthlessly slap her because of Yun Luofeng. You hit me? Zhua Yun touched her flushed face as tears fell from her eyes. Yu Zijia did not look at Zhua Yun. He turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, this is my fault. I apologize to you. I never thought that Zhua Yun would cause trouble for you. Believe me, this will not happen again. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. A dangerous arc flashed across her narrowed eyes. Next time? Do you think there will be a next time? Yun Luofeng looked at Yu Zijia and asked, Yu Zijia, I don't believe that you will fall in love with me because of my battle with Hu Li. Tell me, what is your motive? Yu Zijia's expression froze. A trace of panic surfaced in his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. He smiled and said, Miss Yun, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? I do have feelings for Miss Yun. I have no other intentions. Furthermore, it's understandable that you won't accept me. However, I have confidence in myself. Mother! Just as Yu Zijia was about to continue expressing his feelings, a soft voice came from behind him. When Yun Luofeng heard this voice, her body suddenly stiffened. She raised her head, and when her dark eyes saw the two people, one big and one small, slowly walking over, the coldness on her face gradually dissipated. The man's black robe fluttered in the wind. He was cold and murderous, and his handsome face was expressionless as if he had facial paralysis. Just by standing in front of this man, one would be instantly crushed by his powerful aura. However, everyone's gaze slowly landed on the little boy beside the man, who looked like he was carved out of jade. The little boy looked to be about 5 or 6 years old. He was exceptionally cute, and his big bright eyes were like stars, shining with a dazzling light. When he saw Yun Luofeng, a brilliant smile broke out on his face. He opened his arms wide and rushed into Yun Luofeng's embrace. This time, Yun Xiao did not stop him. His gaze was fixated on the young girl's peerlessly beautiful face from beginning to end as his figure was reflected in his black pupils. Mother? This little boy was addressing Yun Luofeng as mother? Mother, you left father and me at home. Father and I are very lonely, so we came to find you. Xiao Mo's eyes flickered a few times. She looked at the stiff-faced Yu Zijia with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Who is this fellow? Is he another fly that has been circling around you? Chapter 1256. Aside from Yun Xiao, all the other men around Yun Luofeng were like flies to little Mo. Why are you here? Yun Luofeng held little Mo in his arms as he looked at Yun Xiao. His lips curled into a smile. Little Mo wanted to follow you, so I brought him here. Little Mo rolled his eyes in his heart when he heard Yun Xiao's words. Yun Xiao was obviously the one who wanted to find Yun Luofeng, yet she had pushed him out. However, little Mo did not expose Yun Luofeng. He smiled and said, I missed my mother, so I asked my father to bring me to find you. Over the past few years, little Mo had been calling her mother more and more smoothly. He had even used this method to chase away many of Yun Luofeng's pursuers. After all, no matter how outstanding those people were, they could not compare to Yun Xiao. Cough cough. Yu Zijia coughed dryly and said awkwardly, Miss Yun, so you thought you were married? Yun Luofeng raised his brows and swept his cold gaze towards Yu Zijia. I don't care what your motives are. If you plan to hurt me or the people around me, I will not let you off. From the moment Yu Zijia had appeared, she knew that this man was not simply pursuing her. There was a secret in his heart that could not be divulged. Yu Zijia's expression became even more awkward. He did not say another word and hurriedly left. Yu Zijia. Zhua Yun stomped her foot and was about to chase after him when a cold voice suddenly rang out from behind her. Who allowed you to leave? Zhua Yun's body stiffened. She turned around and gritted her teeth. This is the West Continent College, what do you want? You humiliated him with your words, so there's no need for you to keep your tongue. Ah! Zhua Yun had just screamed when a force entered her mouth. She felt a sharp pain on her tongue and blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. Get lost. The man waved his sleeves in a cold and domineering manner. The moment he waved his sleeves, A shockwave spread out and sent those who were blocking Yun Luofeng's path flying. Yun Luofeng. Hu Li walked over from behind the crowd. Just as he was about to raise his hand to pat Yun Luofeng's shoulder, he came into contact with the man's cold and stern eyes. He was so frightened that he quickly withdrew his hand. I didn't expect that you're already married. Fortunately, I found out early. Otherwise, what if I fall in love with you after getting to know you better? Haha. Yun Luofeng knew that Hu Li was joking, so he did not take it to heart. On the contrary, Yun Zhao's cold eyes swept over him, and his grim black eyes were mixed with a warning. You won't have the chance to interact with her. Hu Li chuckled. That's not necessarily true. I'm going to follow her for 10 years. In these 10 years, I'm going to get to know her better. 10 years? Yun Zhao frowned and his gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng shrugged. He was the one who fought with me before. He lost to me, so he has to serve me for 10 years. Oh. Yun Zhao's eyes filled with killing intent once again turned towards Hu Li. The person who injured you was him? Hu Li's heart trembled when he came into contact with the man's gaze. A hint of astonishment flashed across his cunning fox eyes. If it weren't for the fact that you're going to serve Fenger for 10 years, I wouldn't have let you off so easily just because you've injured her. After throwing these words, Yun Zhao retracted his aura and spoke in a grim voice. Once he had retracted his aura, Hu Li felt his entire body relax. Unknowingly, his back was already drenched in sweat. At this moment, in a corner not too far away, a woman saw the grim man standing next to Yun Luofeng and a sense of shock flashed across her eyes. Chapter 1257. Isn't that the father and son that Senior Mingqi met before? That day, they had followed Yao Mingqi back and witnessed the fight between Yao Mingqi and the father and son. Yao Mingqi concluded that this man must have been abandoned by his wife, which was why he was so angry and even abused his child. Unfortunately, the man's strength was too terrifying, so much so that Yao Mingqi did not dare to fight back. No, I must tell Senior Mingqi about this. The girl gritted her teeth and quickly ran in another direction. The room was exquisite and luxurious, the pink curtains fluttering in the wind. Yao Mingqi lay on the bed in a daze, her gaze fixed on the roof beam. A line of tears flowed from the corner of her eyes, emitting a sparkling luster. Senior Mingqi. Suddenly, an anxious voice came from outside the room, but it did not cause any change in Yao Mingqi's mood. Her eyes were still dull and gloomy. Senior Mingqi. Guess who I just saw? The woman quickly ran in and said while gasping for breath. Do you still remember that day when we came back and found a child crying in a house? You went to check it out. Yao Mingqi's gaze finally moved from the roof beam to the girl's face. Just now I saw that father and son. The girl wiped the sweat from her forehead. Our academy's Yun Luofeng is that man's wife. Yun Luofeng? His wife. Yao Mingqi's hand on the bedsheet clenched tightly. Her heart felt like it was being torn apart. She could not help but gasp in pain. Wasn't he abandoned by his wife? Then why was his wife in the academy? Had she misunderstood all this time? Senior Mingqi. The girl carefully looked at the pale Yao Mingqi, not understanding what had happened. Yao Mingqi lowered her eyes and said the only thing she had said since she was crippled. I want to see Master. The girl was overjoyed. Okay, I'll go inform Elder Yao Shu now. She had finally made Senior Mingqi speak. If Elder Yao Shu knew, he would definitely reward her. Thinking of this, the girl quickly turned and left. She wanted to go to the west courtyard to inform Elder Yao Shu. Sure enough, knowing that his own disciple wanted to see him, Elder Yao Shu quickly ran over. His face was filled with heartache as he walked in front of Yao Mingqi. Mingqi, don't worry. I will find a doctor to treat you. Yao Mingqi clenched her fists tightly. Dad. Other than them there was no one else here, so Yao Mingqi called him father. Her tears instantly flowed like a river, and a look of grievance appeared on her face. Mingqi. Yao Shu's heart ached. Tell me who hurt you. Was it those old bastards from the void? Yao Mingqi shook her head. The one who injured me was Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng? Yao Shu was taken aback. Only then did he remember the storm that had been brewing within the academy recently. He asked hesitantly, You mean our academy's Yun Luofeng? It's her. Yao Mingqi's tears flowed down again. Previously, I saw her abusing her son. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I wanted to meddle in other people's business. Who knew that I would be chased away after being scolded by her? And yesterday, because I was worried, I wanted to enter her house to see if she was abusing her son again. Who knew that just as I entered, I would bump into her? Mengqi, your strength isn't bad. Why were you crippled by her? Yao Shu frowned and asked. Chapter 1258. Yao Mingqi's pale face was filled with pain. Father, her son has been educated by her to become an ingrate. I risked my life to help her, but he used that innocent and pure appearance to confuse me. That's why I fell into Yun Luofeng's hands. Not only did she cripple me, she even framed me for stealing. I really didn't do anything. Her voice was hoarse and her face was wet with tears. However, this is not her obedient child. If that boy doesn't listen to her orders, she will definitely abuse him again. What? Yao Shu was furious and slammed the table. The veins on his face bulged. Yun Luofeng, that woman is so cruel. Not only did she abuse a child, she also hurt my daughter. Mingqi, don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. Father, I don't want her to die too early. I want her to feel the same pain that I did. Yao Mingqi lowered her eyes and a trace of ruthlessness flashed across her face. Her voice was hoarse. I'm going to find Yun Luofeng now. Yao Shu's eyes darkened. He didn't even have time to comfort his daughter before he quickly rushed out. Under the azure sky, the crowd had already dispersed. Yun Luofeng was just about to bring Yun Xiao into his room when an anxious voice called out from behind. Miss Yun. And Zihao stumbled over. His footsteps were anxious and his voice sounded like he was about to cry. My young mistress is missing. Arale is missing. Xiao Mo's reaction was even more intense than Yun Luofeng's. Quick, let's go find her. Yun Luofeng glanced at Xiao Mo and then at Zihao. Tell me what happened. And Zihao's expression changed. Just now, Miss wanted to go out to play so I brought her. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, Miss would disappear? If I'm not wrong, the people there must have found Miss and kidnapped her. Miss Yun, please save my Mississippi. As long as you save her, I will do anything to repay you. After saying this, Zihao knelt on the ground and kowtowed fiercely. His head quickly turned purple, and blood flowed down his forehead. Yun Luofeng was his last hope. He could only hold on to him tightly. In this place, besides Yun Luofeng, no one else could help him. Let's go first. Tell me more about the situation on the way. And Zihao lifted his head and looked at Yun Luofeng in disbelief. According to his understanding of Yun Luofeng, this young girl had always stayed out of everything. Her willingness to help was simply beyond his expectations. After Yun Luofeng and the rest left, Yao Shu rushed to her cultivation room. However, she was told that Yun Luofeng and the rest had already left the academy. Instantly, he flew into a rage and issued an order to chase after Yun Luofeng, even if he was 1,000 miles away. Miss Yun, my family's young miss was adopted by the patriarch and madam, but the patriarch and madam passed away very quickly. Now, the ones in charge of the Ji family are her uncle and aunt. Her aunt is what we often call a bad woman. That bad woman seized all of the Ji family's assets, and even the dowry that madam brought to the Ji family fell into her hands. Along the way, Zihao explained the situation to Yun Luofeng. His expression was anxious and his eyes were full of worry. That bad woman saw that Miss was cute and wanted to sell Miss to someone as a concubine. But my Miss is only 6 years old. To make her a concubine, isn't that forcing her to her death? So I ran away with the young Miss. In the end, that bad woman was so angry that she sent assassins to kill us. Chapter 1259. Since she has given up on making Ji Fei a concubine and wants to kill her instead, why is she still trying to capture her? Yun Luofeng glanced at Zihao and asked. And Zihao shook his head. I'm not sure either. She's angry that Miss didn't listen to her, and she thinks that even if Miss marries over, it will still cause trouble for her. She plans to go all out and kill Miss. I don't understand why she wants to capture Miss. Are you sure that it was the Ji family who captured her and not Ji Fei who got lost? Yun Luofeng continued to ask. And Zihao shook his head with certainty. It's the Ji family. It must be someone from the Ji family. After I lost the young Miss, I asked around. They saw the young Miss being carried away by someone cute. In addition, I picked up a Ji family token on the road. From this, I concluded that it must be someone from the G family. On this mainland, everyone was in danger. No one would meddle in other people's business. Even if they saw a little girl being kidnapped in public, no one would stand up and say anything. Otherwise, if they angered those people, they would definitely suffer. And Zeheo's expression became more and more anxious. He could imagine how terrified Miss must have been when she had been taken away. It's all my fault. And Zeheo slapped his head fiercely. I didn't look after Miss well. Otherwise, Miss wouldn't have been taken away. There's no point in saying so much. The most important thing now is to find Ji Fei. Yun Luofeng's eyes darkened as a cold light flashed across them. And Zeheo pursed his lips and said, Miss Yun, I came to find you with the intention of trying my luck. I had originally thought that you would reject me like before, so why did you choose to help us this time? Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks. She turned her back to Zeheo and looked at the sky in front of her. Yesterday, when I stood next to Hu Li, I was buried under the rubble. But I heard everything that happened in the arena. And Zeheo was stunned and looked at Yun Luofeng in surprise. Back then, he had thought that Yun Luofeng had died in the arena, and he had already sunk into grief. But now, he had heard Wang Mujing's smug laughter. New hatred and old hatred had caused him to momentarily lose all reason, and he had gone to find Wang Mujing and fight him to the death. Was that why she was willing to help them? And Zeheo's actions were not very big, but don't forget, he was no match for Wang Mujing. If it weren't for the fact that Yun Luofeng was still alive, and Zeheo would definitely have died under the attacks of Wang Mujing and the others. For a moment, and Zeheo had mixed feelings. He also understood how foolish his actions of pestering Yun Luofeng in the past were. This woman would never take pity on them just because of their begging. It was very easy to get her help. As long as they treated her sincerely, she would repay them 100-fold. Thank you. And Zeheo thanked sincerely. You don't have to thank me now. You can thank me after I rescue Ji Fei. After Yun Luofeng finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he quickly appeared 100 meters away. And Zeheo suppressed the gratitude in his heart and hurriedly chased after her. Ji family. In the courtyard of Gaoting, a beautiful woman was sitting in a pavilion, elegantly sipping tea. At this moment, a guard walked in from outside the courtyard. He was carrying a sack on his shoulder. Inside the sack, there was a constant whimpering sound. Chapter 1260. Thud. The guard threw the sack on the ground and joined his fists. Madam, I've brought her back. Very good. The beautiful woman slowly turned around and walked to the side of the sack. She lifted her foot and kicked the man who was struggling inside the sack. Her lips curled into a sinister smile. Why don't you keep running? Why don't you keep running? Men, untie this sack. This lady wants to have a good look at this little slut. Just as she spoke, a guard immediately stepped forward and took the sack. A little head poked out from the sack. Her large, bright eyes were filled with stubbornness as she stared fixedly at the people in front of her. Little slut, you dare to glare at me? The beautiful woman laughed icily and lifted the little Lolita from the ground. Her lips curled into a disdainful smile. I've said this before, even if you want to run away, no matter how far you run, I will still be able to hunt you down. I've already given up on you, you little slut. I never thought that someone would be willing to pay a high price to buy you. You've been freeloading in the G family for so many years. It's time for you to earn something for me. She had originally intended to sell Ji Fei to an old man, but who would have thought that Ji Fei would fight back with all her might and even escape with Zeheo's help? As for her, how could she let the master know what she had done? Hence, she had informed the master that Ji Fei had eloped with a guard. Ji Fei was only 6 years old. How could the master believe her words? She had sent men to look for Ji Fei, but how could she allow them to find her? Hence, she had sent assassins. If someone had not come to the Ji family and offered to buy Ji Fei, she would not have given up on killing her. Sob, sob. Ji Fei's mouth was covered with a piece of cloth and she could only whimper. She glared fiercely at the beautiful woman, unwilling to be outdone. You still dare to glare at me? The madam's eyes turned cold as she lifted Ji Fei's clothes and said, Ji Fei, I'm warning you. If the master asks, you will tell him that you've eloped with Zeheo. If you dare to say a word, Zeheo's life will be forfeit because of your mistake. The little Lolita's body stiffened and she clenched her fists tightly. Her eyes were filled with flames of anger. The beautiful woman had grasped her weak point. Brother Zaheo was the only family she had left in this world. She would not allow anyone to hurt him. Men, untie her so that the clan leader doesn't discover anything. The beautiful woman coldly snorted and ordered expressionlessly. 2 guards stepped forward and cut the ropes on the little Loli's body. Then they removed the cloth from her mouth. The little Loli was finally able to breathe, and the first thing she said was to curse. Who is freeloading in your G family? My parents are the former patriarch and madam of the G family. They left me a lot of money. You guys took that money and still dare to say that I am a freeloader. The real freeloaders are you guys. The little Loli bit her lips tightly. This G family was single-handedly founded by her parents. On the contrary, her uncle and auntie relied on her parents to live. If it weren't for her parents, they would definitely be living precarious lives. However, in the end, they occupied his parents' property, and still dared to insult him as a freeloader? Your parents? The beautiful woman sneered. Even though your surname is G, do you have the blood of the G family in your body? You're just a daughter that your parents picked up. Since they can't get pregnant, logically speaking, the G family should be managed by their biological brother. Could it be that the G family should be given to an outsider like you instead of his biological brother? Chapter 1261. I'm your father's sister-in-law. So what if I eat and drink in the G family? Who asked them to be blood-related brothers? Who do you think you are? I don't know where you picked up this wild girl. You're clearly a freeloader in the G family. The beautiful woman snorts and looks at little Lolita with a mocking gaze. Little Lolita's face turns red with anger. In the family tree, I'm my father and mother's daughter. Hearing little Lolita's words, the beautiful woman frowns slightly. This little girl dares to speak to her like this? In the past, in the G family, other than the matter of making her a concubine, little Lolita would never dare to go west if she told her to, let alone fight for her own interests. She's only left for a few months, but her temper has become so bad and hard? G Fei, I'm in charge of the G family now. Everything in the G family is managed by me. If I say that you're a freeloader, then you're just freeloading here. And my G family doesn't intend to support a big living person like you. Little Lolita snorts. Zaheo Gidge and I are living outside and relying on ourselves. Why did you bring me back? You've lived in the G family for 6 years. Shouldn't you do something for this family? The beautiful woman slightly narrows her eyes. That lord used an extremely powerful spiritual beast and tens of millions of silver to buy you. For the G family, you must go. Little Lolita's body trembles slightly. 6 years? My father and mother have only died for a year. You actually said that you've raised me for 6 years? I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone in this world shameless to this extent. The beautiful woman sneers. That's because your father and mother were too stupid. They helped others raise their daughter. And they don't care about it. I don't want the G family to suffer. In these 6 years, which of your food and clothing wasn't paid for by the G family? You apprenticed to a master and learned martial arts because of my G family. My G family has raised you for so long. You must do something for us. She keeps mentioning the G family, treating herself as a member of the G family. As the daughter of the previous head of the G family, little Lolita is an outsider. Little Lolita's face turns pale and she takes a few steps back. Just as she was about to turn around and run away, the sound of hurried footsteps came from behind her. Fei, you're back. You're really back. Come and let me see you. Have you lost weight recently? The middle-aged man quickly walked over and hugged the little Loli. His face was full of joy. Your father handed you over to me before he passed away. If anything happens to you outside, how will I explain it to your father in the underworld? The beautiful woman changed her sinister expression and walked towards the middle-aged man with a smile. Master, Fei is back. Don't worry. Besides, she just admitted that she eloped with Zaheo because she was tempted by him. She already knows her mistake, so don't blame her. The beautiful woman turned to Ji Fei and a cold light flashed across her eyes. She said with a fake smile, Fei, don't you think so? Seeing the warning in the beautiful woman's eyes, Ji Fei fell silent. She didn't know if Zaheo had really fallen into her hands. If Zaheo was really in her hands and she didn't listen to her, Zaheo would definitely be in danger. It really is that ingrate. Zaheo. The middle-aged man flew into a rage. If my younger brother hadn't saved him, he wouldn't have lived to this day. Now, he eloped with my younger brother's daughter. Fei is only 6 years old. How could Nzaheo do such a thing that's worse than an animal? Chapter 1262. Ingrate. Fei laughed coldly in her heart. Speaking of ingrates, they were probably more like it. Don't be fooled by the middle-aged man's close relationship with him. That was because he had yet to fully control the G family. If word got out that he had mistreated his own brother's daughter, his reputation would plummet. Hence, he would never let such a thing happen. Fei should be tired. Bring her to rest and dress her up. I will not let my brother's daughter suffer any grievances. The middle-aged man looked up at the beautiful woman and calmly instructed. Master, leave Fei to me. I will treat her well. The beautiful woman lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. The sinister look in her eyes deepened. She was so happy that she could not close her mouth when she thought of the generous conditions offered by those people. Great Dragon Wall. On the bustling street, Nzaheo stopped in his tracks. He looked at the man and woman beside him and said, Young Master Yun Xiao, Miss Yun, this is the G family's territory. The G family's influence in Great Dragon Wall is vast, and the master of the G family has already reached the level of a sage king. Nzaheo was very angry at this point. Back then, before the previous master, who was Mrs. Father, died, I don't know what he gave the master of the G family to make him break through to the level of a sage king. He also asked him to take care of Miss, but I never thought that the G family would treat her like this. Her parents had died in an accident, they had forcefully seized the family's assets, then chased the single daughter out of the family. How familiar was this scene? Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly tightened. A cold light flashed in her lowered eyes. Back in Huaxia, she had also experienced such a scene. Even now, she could not forget those people's faces. Let's go to the G family home now. Yun Luofeng raised her evil eyes slightly, and a murderous intent spread from her body. Who's there? At the entrance of the G family home, the two guards at the door saw the menacing group and their expressions instantly turned cold. However, when they caught a glimpse of Nzaheo, who was following closely behind, their cold expressions turned into shock. Nzaheo, how dare you come back? One of the guards looked furious. He shot a look at his comrade and said, Hurry and inform the master and madam that Nzaheo has returned. All right. The guard turned around and walked into the courtyard. Not long after, a man and a woman led a group of people out in a hurry. The man had a dignified expression on his face, and his eyes were like torches. The beautiful woman next to him had a smile on her face, and when she saw Nzaheo standing at the entrance, her beautiful eyes flashed with killing intent. Nzaheo! The middle-aged man gritted his teeth. You ingrate! You dare to return to my G family. Ingrates? Nzaheo sneered. You're talking about yourself, aren't you? Impudent! The middle-aged man flew into a rage. You're just a little guard, yet you dare to speak to this patriarch in such a manner. Who gave you such courage? Nzaheo raised his handsome face, his expression fearless. You merely inherited your position as the family head from my master. If it wasn't for old master, I don't know where you would be now. Hee. The middle-aged man was so angry that he laughed. Speaking of my younger brother, I want to settle the score with you. My younger brother has always treated you well and even treated you like his own son. What did you do? You seduced his daughter and even eloped with her? Fei is only 6 years old. How could you do such a thing that is worse than an animal? Chapter 1263. Seduce the young mistress? Elope. Nzaheo was slightly confused. Suddenly, he raised his head and glared angrily at the beautiful woman. You're the one who spread these rumors? The beautiful woman's eyes flickered and her gaze was filled with grievance. Master, he actually dared to frame me. Furthermore, Fei has already admitted to it, yet he refuses to admit it. The young mistress admitted it? Nzaheo's emotions fluctuated even further. Where is the young mistress now? You must have imprisoned her. Let her out. Impudent! The middle-aged man roared once again. Fei is my younger brother's daughter. No one in the household has a higher status than her. Who would imprison her? Nzaheo, you seduced Fei first and now you dare to frame her. You deserve to die. Nzaheo clenched his fists tightly as veins popped on his forehead. Dan Min, You wanted to marry the young mistress to an old man as a concubine. That was why I had escaped with her. However, you refused to let us go and chased after us for months. Now, you've even kidnapped the young mistress. Let the young mistress out. Otherwise, I won't let you off. The beautiful woman's expression became even more aggrieved as she bit her lip. Master. He was the one who seduced Fei Fei and tried to frame me. He actually said that I wanted to marry Fei Fei to an old man as a concubine? Fei Fei is my niece. I love her dearly. How could I possibly let her become a concubine? The middle-aged man comforted the beautiful woman as his sharp gaze swept towards Nzaheo. Nzaheo, you're digging your own grave. Boom. The aura from his body surged and attacked Nzaheo like a torrential storm. Nzaheo's expression instantly changed and turned incomparably pale. However, he continued to stand in front of the door and did not collapse. For the sake of the young mistress, he could not give up. You seduced Fei Fei. Today I will kill you. Under normal circumstances, an elopement between a young mistress and a guard would be a scandal for the entire family. No organization would dare to say something like that in front of so many people. However, the middle-aged man did not seem to have any reservations as he continued to accuse Nzaheo of seducing Ji Fei. If word of this got out, Ji Fei's reputation would certainly hit rock bottom. Because he wasn't Ji Fei's father and didn't really care about Ji Fei, he didn't care about her at all. Suddenly, an even more powerful pressure came from the front, causing him to take a few steps back. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at the black-robed man in shock. Sir. The middle-aged man took a deep breath. He could feel Yun Zhao's powerful strength, so much so that he did not dare to act blindly without thinking. This matter concerns our Ji family. I want to teach this guard who seduced my niece a lesson. I hope your excellency will not be a busybody. Yun Zhao did not seem to hear his words. Her slender fingers gently tidied Yun Luofeng's silky hair as the corners of her lips curled into a shallow angle. The wind is too strong. Your hair is a mess. Let me tidy it up for you. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows and allowed the man to tidy up her hair. An evil light flashed in the corner of her eyes and she laughed silently. Seeing that he was ignored by Yun Zhao, the middle-aged man's expression became even uglier. He clenched his fists tightly and said, Sir. Yun Zhao frowned and said in a cold voice, He's too long-winded. And then, Can I kill him? His words were very simple. It was as if killing someone was as easy as eating and drinking to him. There was no challenge at all. Up to you. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. Her evil cold eyes swept towards the middle-aged man and noticed that his face had turned ashen. It was obvious that he was extremely angry. Chapter 1264. Nzaheo, Yun Zhao and I will take care of this. Bring Ji Fei here. Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the middle-aged man. The evil light in his slightly narrowed eyes deepened as he spoke expressionlessly. All right. Nzaheo nodded in agreement. He glanced at Yun Luofeng and walked past the middle-aged man into the Ji household. The man beside Yun Luofeng was too powerful. These people from the Ji family were certainly no match for him. Guards, capture these people. The middle-aged man waved his hand and ordered coldly. In an instant, the guards pulled out their weapons and attacked Yun Luofeng and the girl from all directions. Finish them in one round. Yun Luofeng yawned and said lazily. All right. Yun Zhao lowered her head to look at the girl and smiled dotingly. When she raised her head, her expression turned cold and murderous intent surged from her body. She had said to finish them in one round. She did not mean finish off these guards, but everyone present. A strong wind rose and her black robe fluttered. The man's expression was as cold as a god of death. He no longer had the doting look he had when he faced Yun Luofeng. The middle-aged man's face drained of color. His face was pale with fright. He wanted to retreat, but it was as if a hand had reached out from the ground and firmly grabbed onto his ankle. Master, save me! In this strong wind, the beautiful woman felt as if her body was about to be sucked into the air. She grabbed onto the middle-aged man tightly, as if she was clutching onto her last life-saving straw. Yun Zhao, don't kill them yet. After Yun Luofeng said this, she simply sat to one side and looked mockingly at the two struggling in the strong wind. Bang! The power penetrated his body. The middle-aged man felt as if all his organs had been crushed. His face was ashen from the pain, but he could not even move his feet. He was rooted firmly to the ground. At this moment, he was like a live target. He could not move at all. All he could do was forcibly receive the violent power. In the luxurious dormitory, the little Lolita held her cheeks. Her eyes stared unblinkingly at the courtyard outside the room. Her bright eyes were full of worry. I wonder if Brother Zaheo has really fallen into the hands of these people. She sighed softly. When she returned to Ji's house, these people kept a strict watch on her and did not allow her to step into the door. She had no chance to leave here. And Zaheo, you actually came back. Suddenly, she heard a loud shout from outside the door, and a look of joy flashed across her big bright eyes. Brother Zaheo? She quickly jumped off the stool and ran to the door. Unfortunately, the door was locked with a metal chain. She knocked on the door and said anxiously, Brother Zaheo, is it you? Did you not fall into their hands? You came back to save me? Outside the door, no one answered her. The little Loli's heart gradually sank, her eyes filled with disappointment. Was he hallucinating just now? Brother Zaheo didn't come? Just as she was about to turn around in disappointment, the crisp sound of a chain being cut came from behind her, causing her small body to stiffen. Miss, I'm here to pick you up. Miss, I have come to take you away. The little Loli could not believe her ears. She bit her lips and turned her head stiffly. And Zaheo appeared in front of her, covered in blood. Chapter 1265. And Zaheo held a long sword in his hand, the blade dripping with fresh blood. Behind him, 2 guards lay in a pool of their own blood. Brother Zaheo. The little Loli's face changed from disbelief to surprise. Her mouth twitched as tears almost rolled down her cheeks. She cried out and pounced towards Zaheo, fiercely crashing into his arms. Brother Zaheo, they want to sell me to someone else. I'm so scared, sob. Ever since arriving at the G family home, she had been suppressing her emotions. It was only when she saw Zaheo that her tears burst out. No matter how mature little Lolita was, she was still just a 6-year-old child. How could she not be afraid? And Zaheo hugged little Lolita's body tightly. He gently lowered his eyes to hide the heartache in his eyes. I've said it before, no matter where you are, I will come and find you. He slowly released little Lolita in his arms and squatted down. His resolute gaze met her tear-filled eyes. Miss, I will always be your guard. A guard's duty was to protect Miss's safety. So, he would never abandon her for the rest of his life. Little Lolita wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Her adorable face lit up with a smile. Brother Zaheo, how did you get here? Why did those 2 let you in? Miss, I'm not the only one here. Miss Yun is here too. Yun Luofeng? Little Lolita was stunned. Her eyes curved into crescent moons and her smile was as bright as the sun. I knew that she would definitely come to save me. Why? And Zaheo was stunned. How did you know? Because she taught me how to kill. Little Lolita smiled adorably. From the moment she taught me how to kill, she accepted us. And Zaheo laughed bitterly. In the end, he was the only one who was shocked by Yun Luofeng's help. But Miss had already seen through everything. Let's go, Mississippi. Miss Yun is still waiting for us outside. And Zaheo held little Lolita's hand and walked out of the house. From this moment onwards, he would never let Miss come to any harm. On the streets outside the G family home, there were already many pedestrians gathered. These people were shocked by Yun Zhao's strength, and were also deeply puzzled by the fact that the other party had come to the G family to cause trouble. Yun Luofeng's sharp eyes caught sight of Zaheo and his servant walking out of the courtyard, and his expression finally relaxed. It seems that the G family did not mistreat Ji Fei. If that was the case, she was relieved. Fei. The middle-aged man's expression changed when he saw Zaheo holding the little Lolita's hand. You still want to elope with Zaheo? How can you face your parents if you do this? The little girl raised her head and looked at the middle-aged man. She said in a childish voice, I didn't elope with Brother Zaheo. Auntie has wronged us. She wanted to sell me to an old man as a concubine, but I didn't agree, so she wanted to put me under house arrest. It was Big Brother Zaheo who helped me escape. The crowd was in an uproar. During this period of time, Long Chongqing and everyone else had thought that the little girl of the Ji family had eloped with a guard. Now, it seemed that there was more to it than meets the eye. What nonsense are you spouting? The beautiful woman was furious and glared at the little Loli. Little Lolita raised her head and stared fearlessly into the woman's fierce eyes. When you saw that I had escaped, you sent assassins to hunt me down. But later, because someone offered you a spiritual beast and tens of millions of silvers to buy me, you agreed. You also gave up on hunting me down and brought me back to the G family. Chapter 1266. The beautiful woman's body began to tremble violently. She could already see the looks of ridicule in the eyes of the crowd. Damned girl, if you continue to spout nonsense, I'll tear your mouth apart. The little lowly scoffed. Just now, you used Brother Zaheo's life to threaten me and force me to admit to this matter. If I didn't agree, you would make a move on Brother Zaheo. These past few months, it was Brother Zaheo who risked his life to protect me. That's why I was able to survive. For Brother Zaheo's sake, I had no choice but to let you control me. The crowd had already begun to point fingers at the beautiful woman. The looks of ridicule and disdain were like a thorn that pierced fiercely into her heart. The little lowly gripped in Zaheo's hand tightly and continued. You said that I was a freeloader in the G family. The G family had raised me for 6 years, so I should contribute to the G family. G Fei. The beautiful woman wanted to stop the little lowly. However, the little lowly could not even bear to look at her and continued to narrate her crimes. The G family was established by my parents. I'm their adopted daughter and their only daughter. Yet you think that I'm just an outsider. You're the people closest to my parents. You even said that you deserve everything in the G family. I'm just a freeloader who stayed in the G family. The crowd on the street could no longer bear to watch. Voices of criticism swarmed towards the beautiful woman like a tidal wave. This madam of the G family actually dares to say such things. Fiske, you really don't know a person's face. I thought that she had treated Ji Fei very well. Even though Ji Fei is only an adopted daughter, she was adopted by the previous head of the Ji family. According to the genealogy, she is the rightful heir to the Ji family. If Ji Fei had not been so young, the previous head of the Ji family would not have handed the family over to his own younger brother. Unfortunately, the previous head of the Ji family did not have a good eye for people. Ji Fei was wronged by the Ji family and was almost sold off. She was even labeled as a freeloader and even shamelessly claimed that the Ji family had raised Ji Fei for 6 years. Were they the ones who raised her for 6 years? That's the daughter that the former patriarch raised himself. For many years, this shameless couple lived and ate for free in the Ji family, enjoying the grace that the Ji family brought them. But their parents died less than a year ago, and they want to sell their daughter. I've seen shameless people, but only this pair are shameless to this extent. Today, I've really broadened my horizons. After saying what she wanted to say in her heart, Ji Fei felt her entire body relax. The unwillingness and anger that she had suppressed for many days was finally revealed in front of others. The beautiful woman's body went limp and she collapsed to the ground. Her forehead was covered with a layer of cold sweat and her face was pale. Dan Min. The middle-aged man turned to Dan Min angrily. Is what she said true? Dan Min's face grew paler and paler. Suddenly, she smiled, and it was a sinister smile. Am I wrong? She had been freeloading in the Ji family. She doesn't have the bloodline of the Ji family in her body. She's not even a member of the Ji family. The beautiful woman's hair was disheveled and she looked like a lunatic. Her eyes emitted a dark green light. This Ji family is ours. We definitely can't give it to that little hussy, Ji Fei. Shut up. At this moment, Yun Xiao had already retracted his tail teeth. So, the middle-aged man quickly ran in front of Dan Min and fiercely slapped her across the face. Who allowed you to say such words? Fei Fei is my younger brother's only daughter. You actually dare to say that she's freeloading? Chapter 1267. Dan Min lowered her head. Her hair was a mess on her temples as her lips slowly curled into a sarcastic smile. You are the only heir to the Ji family. As the elder brother, the Ji family will be yours after your younger brother dies. Who does Ji Fei think she is? She's just an adopted daughter, not a real member of the Ji family. You. The middle-aged man trembled in anger. Of course, his thoughts were the same as Dan Min's. He believed that he should be the head of the Ji family. However, he was not stupid enough to show it in front of others. He angrily scolded, "Hurry up and apologize to Fei Fei." Dan Min scoffed and turned around. Her eyes were filled with disdain. Fei Fei. When the middle-aged man saw that it was Dan Min, he quickly walked over to her and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. It's all Eldest Uncle's fault for making you suffer. Don't worry, Eldest Uncle will avenge you and divorce this woman. Eldest Uncle has always doted on you. How could I allow you to suffer? The little Lolita gently raised the corners of her lips and blinked her large eyes. If I wanted to take back everything that belonged to my parents, would you give it to me? The middle-aged man looked a little embarrassed. He said earnestly, Fei, you're too young. It's not easy to be the head of the family. Over the past year, haven't I worked hard enough? How could I bear to see you work so hard? You should still be the eldest miss of the G family. I can give you a position that is second only to one and above all. The little Lolita tilted her head innocently. But I'm not afraid of being tired. Can Eldest Uncle return my power? This was left behind by my father. Besides, Brother Zaheo has been helping me. The middle-aged man's expression darkened. He glanced at Zaheo and said in a low voice, Fei, in this world, how can outsiders be more reliable than family? And Zaheo may have been with you for so many years, but he is still an outsider. If you ask him to help you, isn't that the same as giving him power? The little Lolita smiled. Eldest Uncle, during the days that I've been away, it was this outsider you speak of who used his life to protect me. Even when he went to work as a laborer, he never let me suffer from hunger. In comparison, you so-called relatives have always schemed against me, and even slapped my father's family and refused to give me anything. The middle-aged man's expression gradually became cold. Fei, stop fooling around. Let's go home first, okay? When we get back, I'll have a good chat with you. No. The little Loli pushed away the middle-aged man's hand, raised her head, and said word by word, I only want Ji's family. Yun Luofeng was right. A kind person would be bullied, and a kind horse would be ridden. If she wanted to never be bullied again, she had to become stronger. Fei. The middle-aged man's expression was somewhat ugly. This Ji family was handed over to me by your father. I have to be responsible for the Ji family. If I put the Ji family in your hands, what if you completely destroy the Ji family? How am I going to see your father? The little Loli's eyes were stubborn. No matter what you say, this Ji family is mine. Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched the two of them clash. Yun Xiao, if anyone dares to stop Ji Fei from managing the Ji family, kill them without mercy. When he heard the words kill without mercy, the middle-aged man's body trembled violently. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yun Luofeng. Aren't you meddling too much? Are you going to meddle in other people's family affairs? Chapter 1268. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and called out. Yun Xiao stepped forward. His cold and murderous aura rose once again and surged towards the middle-aged man. Ji Fei, how do you want to punish them? Yun Luofeng turned to look at Ji Fei and asked. Ji Fei bit her lip. Big Aunt treated me like that, I won't let her live. As for Big Uncle, even though he's a bit greedy, he's never hurt me. I want to chase him out of the Ji family. Ji Fei, you've shown mercy. Yun Luofeng looked at Ji Fei, he's greedy for power. Will he be satisfied after you take away the Ji family? Ji Fei lowered her head. She knew that Yun Luofeng was right. If Big Uncle was not satisfied with his power being taken away, he would definitely come back for her. Yun Xiao, cripple him, Yun Luofeng said slowly. I don't want to cause any more trouble. Okay. As soon as the man finished speaking, the middle-aged man didn't even have time to beg for mercy before he felt a force hit his dantian. He spat out a mouthful of blood, took 2 steps back and collapsed. Ji Fei's father gave you your power. I'm taking it back on his behalf. Yun Luofeng glanced at the middle-aged man and slowly walked towards Ji Fei. If you don't want to kill him for your own safety, you must cripple his power. Little Loli nodded. I understand. She had not planned to kill Big Uncle because of her father. She had forgotten that a narrow-minded person like Big Uncle would definitely seek revenge on her. Ji Fei, Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and continued. In this world, don't trust anyone besides Zaheo, even if that person is your family. Little Loli pursed her lips and stared at the young girl in front of her with misty eyes. Will you stay? No, I have to return to the academy. Yun Luofeng shook his head. Wait. Just as she finished speaking, Xiao Mo's small body walked over from behind. He looked at little Loli with a smile. We saved you just now, shouldn't you repay us? Ji Fei blinked her eyes. My ability is relatively weak, and there are very few things I can do. However, as long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. Little Mo smiled mysteriously. You will definitely be able to do what I want you to do. In fact, in this world, only you can do it. G Family Hall. The little Loli asked everyone to leave before looking at the boy standing in front of her with a puzzled expression. Just cry. Little Mo took out a porcelain bottle from his lapel and handed it to the little girl. Little Loli was confused. She didn't understand what little Mo was trying to do. Little Mo frowned and said impatiently, I want your tears. It's not a loss for you to give me a few. Even though little Loli didn't know what little Mo wanted her to do, she still did as she was told. She blinked and a teardrop fell from the corner of her eye into the porcelain bottle. As if recalling the grievances she had suffered over the past year, the little Loli cried louder and louder, her tears flowing down like a torrential rain. After a while, the entire porcelain bottle was filled with her tears. That's enough. Little Mo put the porcelain bottle away and his delicate face lit up with a smile. Master, we have the ingredient. Next, we need a few other medicinal ingredients. These ingredients aren't very valuable and the medicine shop will definitely have them. If that's the case, let's go. Chapter 1269. Yun Luofeng then turned and walked out of the Great Hall. Miss, you stay here, I'll send them off. And Zihao returned to his senses and quickly chased after her. Perhaps sensing his pursuit, Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks, turned her back to Zihao and said, I know you must be curious about Ji Fei's true identity, but I won't tell you. Knowing this won't do you any good. You only need to protect her for the rest of your life and that's enough. And Zihao was not stupid. Ji Fei's tears could be used as medicine. How could she be an ordinary child? I understand. And Zihao did not pursue the matter any further and nodded solemnly. For the rest of my life, I, and Zihao, will use my life to protect Mrs. Safety. Even if I die in battle for her, I will use my soul to continue to protect her. Even if I have to ascend to the heavens or descend to the underworld, nothing can stop my determination. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile and she did not say anything else. Her gaze turned towards the sky in front of her. Yun Xiaomo, let's go. Yun Xiao silently followed behind Yun Luofeng. Her cold black eyes stared at the young girl's figure and the coldness on her handsome face gradually disappeared. At this moment, Yun Luofeng, who was rushing back, was completely unaware of the storm that awaited her upon her return to the academy. In the west courtyard, Yao Shu, who was listening to his subordinate's report, was suddenly pulled back by an angry shout. He frowned and a fierce light flashed across his eyes. Then, he saw a furious Ling Hai rush in from outside the door. The guards could not stop him no matter how hard they tried. Yao Shu, get out here. Ling Hai rushed in front of Yao Shu and without saying a word, he started to attack him. With a loud bang, Yao Shu dodged to the side and a large hole was punched in the wall behind him by Ling Hai's fist. Ling Hai's fingers cracked as he clenched them. Yao Shu, you expelled Yun Luofeng from the academy? You even sent people to kill her? Yao Shu laughed coldly and his face was filled with ridicule. Yun Luofeng is extremely cruel. First, she abused her own son. Then, because my disciple stopped her, she crippled my disciple's limbs. I will definitely settle this debt with her. Ling Hai laughed out loud. Yun Luofeng has a son? Are you kidding me? How could she have a son? Wasn't it because our East Courtyard changed the hallmaster of the duty hall, so you held a grudge and made up a reason to attack Yun Luofeng? Ling Hai, if you don't believe me, you can go ask around. Who in the entire academy doesn't know that Yun Luofeng has a son? What I don't understand is, why are you so angry because of Yun Luofeng's matter? Only a few people knew about what had happened in the duty hall that day. Thus, Yao Shu did not know about the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the East Courtyard. Humph. Ling Hai coldly snorted. Yun Luofeng is my disciple, do you think I shouldn't care about her? Let me tell you, if you want to expel Yun Luofeng from the academy, there's no way. Our East Courtyard will never agree to this. Yun Luofeng is your disciple? Yao Shu narrowed his eyes, a dangerous glint flashing across his eyes. So, Yun Luofeng's actions that day were approved by the East Courtyard? Bullshit! Ling Hai directly scolded. Who wants to attack your disciple? It was obviously you who framed her. This matter. Wait for the dean to return. I will definitely seek justice for Yun Luofeng. Chapter 1270. Director? The director has been gone for so many years. Do you think he will come back? Yao Shu slowly stood up, the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Furthermore, Yun Luofeng did it. My disciple said it herself, she never lies. Ling Hai fiercely flung his sleeves. Even if it was really my disciple who did it, it must be your disciple who did something infuriating. Don't try to push the blame away. As long as I am here, no one can chase my disciple away. After saying this, Ling Hai once again glared at Yao Shu fiercely, turned around and left angrily. Staring at his departing figure, Yao Shu's eyes turned even colder. East Courtyard. Looks like Meng Qi's injury has something to do with the East Courtyard. Do you really think you can protect Yun Luofeng? What a joke, the person I want to kill will never live to see tomorrow. Wuhui Mainland. Ji family. On the luxurious carved bed, the red bed curtains fluttered in the wind, faintly revealing the alluring scene on the bed. Ji Jiutian half reclined on the bed, his red robe half unbuttoned, revealing his fair, jade-like chest. His features were exquisite, with a red dot between his brows, slightly raised, wild and domineering. Two beautiful maids squatted on the bed, massaging his legs. The entire room was filled with an unusual anger. Master! At this moment, a maid's voice came from outside the door. Someone from the 7 continents is here. 7 continents? The man raised his eyebrows. Who? West Continent Institute. Elder Fifen. Originally, the maid thought she would be punished for disturbing the man, who knew that only the man's charming laughter could be heard from inside the room. 7 continents. Yun Luofeng has been in the 7 continents for some time. Let him in. Yes, master. Just as she finished speaking, the maid's footsteps gradually faded away. Not long after, the room door was pushed open by an old hand. Lin Fifen hurried in from outside. His eyes immediately saw the bewitching man on the bed. His eyes instantly filled with grievance. Director, when are you going back to the school? The school cannot be left unattended. You should return with us. The man's smiling eyes were like a sharp sword that shot towards Lin Fifen. He picked up a grape by the side with his fingernails and gently squeezed it until it burst. A cold light flashed across his slightly narrowed eyes. If the Western Continent Academy needs me to go back and take charge, then what are you elders for? Lin Fifen's voice paused. The Western Continent Academy has been divided into 2 big sects, the East Courtyard and the West Courtyard. But before the internal troubles were settled, external troubles came. Back then, when you were still around, even the Continent Lord had to be courteous to our Western Continent Academy. Once you disappeared, the Continent Lord no longer placed our academy in his eyes. The man casually picked up another grape. This time he did not crush it. Instead, he elegantly placed it in his mouth. All these years, I have only managed your Western Continent Academy on behalf of my good friend. This does not mean that the Western Continent Academy can restrict me. Dean. Lin Fifen still wanted to say something, but the man's expression gradually became impatient. I have helped him for so many years, that's enough. Go back, there's no need to come to the Ji family to find me. Lin Fifen sighed helplessly. He took one last look at the bewitching man, then walked out with a bitter smile. Western Continent. Ji Jiutian gently placed a finger on his lips, his smile extremely bewitching. I should indeed make a trip to the Western Continent, but not to the Western Continent Academy. Chapter 1271. The maid gathered her courage and asked, Master is planning to find Miss Yun? That's right. Ji Jiutian laughed maniacally. I haven't seen that girl in a long time, I really miss her. After a while, I'll go find her. Thinking of Yun Luofeng, Ji Jiutian's smile deepened and the corners of his lips involuntarily rose. But Ji Jiutian frowned. The Ji family's spatial tunnel leads to the West Continent Academy. I really don't want to see those old things. But this is the only way I can reach the 7 continents faster. West Continent Academy. At the entrance, Yun Zhao's arm was wrapped around Yun Luofeng's waist. Just as she was about to enter, she was stopped by 2 people. Yun Luofeng, you're no longer a disciple of the West Continent Academy. You have no right to take another step into the West Continent Academy. A guard blocked in front of Yun Luofeng and said expressionlessly. The other guards saw Yun Luofeng appear and immediately turned to run back to the academy. He was going to inform Yao Shu. Yun Luofeng looked at the guard who stopped her and gently patted Yun Zhao's hand, indicating for him not to make a move. Who gave the order to chase me out of the West Continent Academy? She raised her brows and looked coldly at the guard in front of her. The guard replied coldly, "It's Elder Yao Shu's order. You injured Elder Yao Shu's disciple and still dare to return to the academy. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Yao Shu's disciple? Yun Luofeng did not understand and did not know what had happened. Yun Luofeng. Suddenly, an anxious voice sounded from the front. Yun Luofeng looked up and saw Hu Li quickly rushing out of the courtyard. Yun Luofeng. Hurry and leave this place. Hu Li's expression was very anxious and she kept looking back as if she was afraid that someone would chase after them. Yun Luofeng became even more confused. Hu Li, what exactly happened? She had only left for half a month. What exactly had happened in the academy? Yun Luofeng, Elder Yao Shu's disciple, Yao Mingqi, had her tendons cut by someone a while ago. Now she has come out and said that it was you who did it. Hurry and leave this place. It'll be too late if you don't leave now. Yun Luofeng was silent. She thought for a moment, but she still couldn't figure out who this Yao Mingqi was. Yao Mingqi? Could it be her? Little Mo exclaimed in surprise. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Little Mo. You know him? Little Mo rubbed his nose and said, the woman who broke into our house had her tendons cut off by Yun Xiao. Furthermore, not only did she eat the food that Yun Xiao made for you, she even tried to seduce Yun Xiao. So she reaped what she sowed. I just don't know why she said that you did all of this. Yun Luofeng subconsciously glanced at Yun Xiao, the corners of his lips curling into a smile. Isn't there a saying that love begets hate? I reckon that when Yun Xiao came to find me, she recognized Yun Xiao and transferred her hatred onto me. Perhaps she even thinks that if I die, Yun Xiao might be hers. The scenery here is not bad. However, Yun Xiao had said this out of the blue. Yun Luofeng was silent. Yun Xiao lowered his eyes and stared at her. If you like it, I can snatch this place for you. What he meant was that he could snatch this West Continent Academy for Yun Luofeng at any time. Why would he be afraid of Yao Shu and his group? Chapter 1272. From the moment he had cut off Yao Mingqi's tendons, he had never placed the West Continent Academy in his eyes. Hu Li's mouth twitched a few times and he said helplessly, You guys better leave quickly. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late. Just as he finished speaking, a powerful force suddenly attacked from behind, carrying with it a monstrous rage as it launched an attack towards Yun Luofeng. Yun Zhao's body flashed and he appeared in front of Yun Luofeng. He raised his palm gently and without any unnecessary movements, he clenched his fist. At the same time, energy surged out from his body and with a bang, he pushed the incoming person back. Yao Shu's expression was extremely serious as he stared coldly at Yun Xiao. Who are you? The person I'm looking for is Yun Luofeng. Unrelated people. Get out of my way. Yun Zhao's face was expressionless as he stared coldly at Yao Shu. His black robe fluttered without any wind and his aura was austere. Yun Luofeng. Yao Shu's gaze moved away from Yun Xiao and landed on Yun Luofeng's face. He gritted his teeth. It's you hurt my disciple. Today, since you've returned to the West Continent Academy, I'll cripple your powers and make you kneel in front of my disciple for 3 months. I'll let you have a taste of the pain she endured. Yao Shu's eyes filled with rage as he thought of his daughter who was lying on the bed. He wanted nothing more than to tear Yun Luofeng into 1,000 pieces. Your disciple. A hoarse voice came from the side. The man's expression was as cold and emotionless as usual. I hurt her. Boom. Yao Shu's anger surged again as he stared coldly at Yun Xiao. That's impossible. My disciple said that the person who hurt her was Yun Luofeng. That must be Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng couldn't defeat my disciple, so he used this kid as bait to deceive my disciple. My disciple is kind and didn't guard against a child at all. That's why she fell into their trap. His sharp gaze swept across Xiao Mo's body as the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Xiao Mo laughed mockingly. Your disciple clearly tried to seduce my father and was injured by him. Yet, she blamed my mother for it. This essay. In your heart, is this kind of woman a kind person? Humph. Yao Shu snorted coldly. Don't even think of framing my disciple. My disciple has a whole bunch of suitors. It's impossible for her to seduce this man. Hu Li is also one of her pursuers. If she chooses Hu Li, why would she look for a man who already has a wife? Puff. Hu Li almost spat out his saliva. What did this have to do with him? Moreover, when did he become Yao Mingqi's pursuer? Why didn't he know? I see. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and looked at Hu Li with a faint smile. So you are Yao Mingqi's pursuer? Cough, cough. Hu Li coughed twice and shrugged. It has nothing to do with me. I've never liked a woman like Yao Mingqi. Even if she came knocking on my door, I wouldn't accept her. Hu Li. Seeing that someone dared to humiliate his daughter, Yao Shu flew into a rage. What did you say? Do you dare to repeat what you just said? Am I not clear enough? Even if Yao Mingqi came to me, I wouldn't like her. Hu Li might as well give up. At most, he would leave West Continent College with Yun Luofeng. He felt that following beside Yun Luofeng was better than staying in this kind of place. Moreover, West Continent College's East Dean elders were all Yun Luofeng's masters. If they could rush over, Yun Luofeng might not be in danger. Good, it seems like you don't want to mingle in West Continent College anymore. Since that's the case, from today onwards, you are no longer a disciple of our college. Yao Shu's eyes flashed coldly as he gritted his teeth. Chapter 1273. Elder Yao Shu. I'm afraid this isn't too good. When the other elders of the West Academy saw Yao Shu's action, they quickly advised, Hu Li is a disciple on the heaven list. If you expel him, our academy will lose 2 geniuses at once. So what? I said I would expel him, so he must be expelled. I won't let off anyone who insults my disciple. In this life, he owed Yao Mingqi too much. And because of his negligence, his daughter had suffered such harm. So how could he allow these people who had harmed her to get away scot-free? Didn't you say you wanted to speak up for Yun Luofeng? Then there's no need for you to stay. In any case, my Western Continent Academy doesn't lack you. Haha. A cold laugh pierced through the sky, landing in everyone's ears. I really don't know when it was your turn to make decisions in the Western Continent Academy. Su Kong and the others walked over from behind, their expressions filled with fury. Only when they saw that Yun Luofeng was safe and sound did they sigh in relief. Xue Ying bitterly smiled. She had originally thought that after taking in a female disciple, she would have much more leisure time. Who would have thought that Yun Luofeng would cause more trouble than anyone else? In the time she had taken her in, she had caused quite a bit of commotion in the academy. But so what? Who told her to be their disciple? Could it be that she had to just watch as these bastards bullied her? You really want to stop me from getting revenge for my disciple? Yao Shu's eyes sank. This Yun Luofeng has committed a monstrous crime. First, he abused his own son, and then he harmed Meng Qi, who wanted to protect the weak. He even framed Meng Qi for stealing. How can I endure this? In any case, no matter who comes today, Yun Luofeng must die. Yao Shu's aura once more exploded out, surging into the sky. Under this heavy aura, some of the guards couldn't even breathe. Xue Ying quickly walked over to Yun Luofeng, a warm smile on her face. Feng don't be afraid. Our masters will protect you. Tell us what exactly happened, and we'll definitely get justice for you. Yun Luofeng did not speak, but little Mo could not help but speak up. It was Yao Mingqi who wanted to seduce my father. She was also injured by my father, and my parents did not beat me up. It was she who took a fancy to my father and took the opportunity to strike up a conversation. Who knew that my father would ignore her, so she took the opportunity to sneak into my house. With just a few words, he had explained everything clearly. Surprise flashed across Xue Ying's eyes. What surprised her was that Yun Luofeng really had a son. What followed was a belly full of anger. His cold eyes turned towards Yao Shu. Your disciple is so daring that he even dares to seduce my disciple's husband? Did she really lack men that much? If she's really a man, there are so many students in the academy who would definitely be willing to have sex with her. Usually, Xue Ying was very gentle, and even Su Kong and the others rarely saw her angry. But now, she was clearly unable to control her anger, and her words were very poisonous. Xue Ying! Yao Shu raged. You humiliated Meng Qi. Xue Ying sneered. It was she who did such a shameless thing. How can you blame others for humiliating her? Ha ha ha. Yao Shu was so angry that he started laughing. Good. Good elder of the East Institution. It seems that you really want to protect Yun Luofeng to the end. If that's the case, then we can only decide victory or defeat in one battle. The West Institution and the East Institution had fought openly and secretly for so many years, but they had never shed all pretense of cordiality. But now, for Yun Luofeng, the elders of the two institutions stood on opposite sides. Chapter 1274. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't touched. Yun Luofeng had his own goals when he first came to the academy. He didn't really treat them as his masters. But these elders had always treated him as a disciple. A warm current flowed through his heart. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a devilish smile and his black eyes glowed. Yun Xiao, if my masters can't beat Yao Shu and the others, then you don't have to care so much. Yun Xiao hugged Yun Luofeng's body gently and looked at Yao Shu and the others coldly. The entire entrance of the academy instantly became tense. All the disciples of the academy hid far away, deeply afraid that the battle between the two sides would affect them. Huli walked in front of Yun Luofeng and smiled. I didn't think that Yao Mingqi's injury was really because of you guys. Yun Luofeng glanced at him. Your heart aches? Immediately, Huli fell silent. He looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. I have nothing to do with Yao Mingqi. Why should I feel sorry for her? On the contrary, she thinks that I like her and keeps pestering me. I've explained it many times, but she still thinks that I love her deeply. Hu Li was helpless. Suddenly, he thought of something and couldn't help but laugh. Oh right, I heard from Yao Mingqi not long ago that she saw a man abusing his child. I didn't expect that she was talking about your husband. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and gestured for him to continue. Yao Mingqi said that this child is very pitiful and your husband is also pitiful. On the contrary, you abandoned your husband and child for an evil woman. Unforgivable. It's because you abandoned your husband that he became so cold and heartless. That's why your child was abused like this. Tiske, I really don't know how she saw this. Yun Zhao's dark eyes stared at Yun Luofeng. You can't abandon your husband and child. He thought about it and added, I've already become yours. You can't pull up your pants and deny it. Ever since the old man said that he would not recognize anyone if he pulled up his pants, Yun Xiao often said this. She smiled helplessly. After a while, we'll go back and get married. Okay. A smile gradually surfaced in Yun Zhao's eyes. Feng, I'll let you marry in style. A grand wedding? In Yun Luofeng's mind, the scene of Yun Xiao delivering the betrothal gift surfaced. Just the proposal alone was already so sensational. Just how glorious would the grand marriage that Yun Xiao spoke of be? Just as the two of them were stuck together like glue, Yao Shu had already taken the initiative to attack Su Kong and the others. Once they reached this level, it would be very difficult for others to intervene in the battle. Therefore, the Academy's disciples could only see a few figures fighting in the void, but they were unable to determine their strength. Is this the power of an Academy elder? He was so powerful that no one could match him. Boom boom boom. In the void, countless streams of energy spread out, causing the entire sky to turn gray. It was as if a layer of dust had covered the originally azure sky. Elder! Just as the two sides were locked in a fierce battle, a panicked voice rushed over. I sensed a power coming from the wormhole in the Academy. If I'm not wrong, someone must have come through the wormhole. What? In the void, the two sides separated. They looked at each other with shock in their eyes. Chapter 1275. Someone came through the wormhole? Could it be? It's the Dean, it must be the Dean. Shui Ying was overjoyed. I met the Dean about 10 years ago. I haven't seen him for 10 years. I didn't expect the Dean to come back at this time. Su Kong and the others were also surprised, forgetting about the battle just now. Yao Shu, since the Dean is back, let's seek justice from the Dean. Su Kong looked at Yao Shu and his lips curled into a cold smile. Yao Shu laughed and his eyes were filled with anger. Even if the Dean is back, he will definitely stand on my side. After all, my disciple was crippled by Yun Luofeng. Don't tell me that I don't even have the right to seek justice. You just listen to your disciple's side of the story, and you think that my disciple was in the wrong first. Shui Ying said coldly. The Dean will naturally seek justice for this matter. Let's go and pardon her now. After saying this, she walked to Yun Luofeng's side and said, Fenger, don't be afraid. The dean will definitely seek justice for us. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. Yun Xiao, let's go and join in the fun. At the same time, let's see what kind of person the dean is. The West Continent Academy's wormhole was located at the back of the mountain. Other than the elders, no one else had the right to enter the back of the mountain. At this moment, at the entrance of a cave in the back of the mountain, the elders looked nervous as they stared unblinkingly at the entrance of the cave. In an instant, a ray of light flashed and a coquettish man slowly walked out of the cave. His red clothes were brighter than blood and he was peerless. It seems that I have been discovered. The man's red lips curled into a smile. His clothes were always half open and he was coquettish and flirtatious. Greetings, Dean. All the elders knelt down and greeted him respectfully. The man held the back of his head with both hands and narrowed his eyes. His gaze swept across the crowd and in the next moment, he found Yun Luofeng standing behind the crowd. Yun Luofeng was stunned. Ji Jiutian was the dean of the West Continent Academy? Was this world so small? She actually bumped into him here? Yun Xiao felt the change in the girl next to him and held her hand tightly. He looked at Ji Jiutian coldly and became slightly vigilant. Dean! Yao Shu stood up from the ground and cried. You have to help me. My disciple was injured and her hands and feet were broken, but these people from the East Courtyard still want to protect her. This is really infuriating. Ji Jiutian withdrew his gaze from Yun Luofeng and raised his eyebrows at the elders. I want to know what exactly happened. Principal, Shuang glared fiercely at Yao Shu. It was Yao Shu's disciple who tried to seduce my disciple's man. That's why I took revenge. Hee. Yao Shu sneered and said mockingly, my disciple needs to seduce men? Especially when the other party was someone else's man. This woman can't compare to my disciple in any way, and now she wants to frame her. His gaze was directed at Yun Luofeng. Ji Jiutian looked at Yun Luofeng again, and the corners of his lips curled up into a meaningful smile. You said that the person who crippled your disciple was Yun Luofeng? Yao Shu did not react for a moment and replied, That's right, it was Yun Luofeng. She abused her own son and my disciple saw it, so she crippled my disciple. Principal Yu. Chapter 1276. Suddenly, Yao Shu reacted and stared at Ji Jiutian with widened eyes. Dean. You. How did you know her name is Yun Luofeng? Ji Jiutian smiled. Her smile was as wild and domineering as usual. Unfortunately, this girl is my friend. Friend? Yao Shu widened his eyes in shock and stared at Ji Jiutian in disbelief. At this moment, he even suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Did the dean just say Yun Luofeng was his friend? Yao Shu's face paled at this moment. He took 2 steps back and stumbled before falling to the ground. Despair filled his heart. Ji Jiutian slowly walked towards Yao Shu. Based on my understanding of Yun Luofeng, she would never provoke anyone. On the contrary, there are often blind people who provoke her. If it wasn't for your daughter angering her, she wouldn't have crippled her. Also, Ji Jiutian paused, his smile was sinister. You said that Yun Luofeng can't compare to your disciple? Which means that there's something wrong with my judgment, right? Yao Shu's lips trembled slightly. He laughed dryly. Dean, this is a misunderstanding. Everything is a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Ji Jiutian laughed wildly. Then why didn't you say it was a misunderstanding before? When I said that Yun Luofeng was my friend, you said it was a misunderstanding. It seems that in the 10 years that I left, West Continent Academy was indeed not as good as before. Su Kong and the others looked at each other. They never thought that Yun Luofeng would be the dean's disciple. This matter was too unexpected, and it shook everyone's hearts. Yun Luofeng, Huli looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. Why didn't you say so earlier that you knew the dean? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. I didn't know that other than being the ancestor of the Ji family, this guy was also the dean of West Continent Academy. What other identities does he have? I'm interested. Hearing this, Yun Xiao quickly turned Yun Luofeng's head around so that she could look at her. She said jealously, It's enough that you're interested in me, you don't need to be interested in him. Dean. Ling Hai looked at Yao Shu. Whenever he thought about how Yao Shu wanted to make a move on his disciple, the anger in his heart would surge. How should we punish Yao Shu for his actions? Ji Zhoutian glanced at Yao Shu. Send him to the criminal court for punishment. Also, throw his disciple over as well. Every force had their own rules. That was the reason why the criminal division existed. Ji Zhoutian was not a kind person to begin with. How could the punishment he set be easy? Therefore, the moment Yao Shu is sent to the Hall of Crime, his life will be worse than death. Yao Shu knew this as well. His legs turned to jelly and he collapsed to the ground. His expression changed from one of high spirits to one of despair. Ji Zhoutian walked toward Yun Luofeng. A smile appeared on his beautiful face, and a ray of light flashed in his long and narrow eyes. Long time no see. His lips curled into a light smile. After greeting them, he turned his gaze towards Yun Xiao. Of these two men, one was cold and expressionless, while the other was flirtatious and elegant. A light breeze lifted their robes. The two of them stood side by side, but they were not inferior to each other. Ji Zhoutian. Ji Zhoutian slowly said his name. Yun Luofeng's man. This was Yun Zhao's self-introduction. He did not say his name. Instead, he said that he was Yun Luofeng's man. Chapter 1277. You're very strong. Ji Zhoutian smiled. His smile was wild, and his eyes were filled with arrogance as if he did not care about the world. I wonder if I can fight with you? All right. Yun Xiao slowly released the young girl in his arms and shot a cold and grim gaze towards Ji Zhoutian as he spoke expressionlessly. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng tugged on Yun Zhao's sleeve and frowned. I don't know what level Ji Zhoutian is at. As if afraid that Yun Luofeng would worry, Yun Zhao's eyes softened. He patted her hand and said, Wait for me. Yun Luofeng gently let go of him. She stared at the man's handsome and cold face and her lips curled into a smile. All right, I'll wait for you. She believed in Yun Xiao. Since Yun Xiao had promised Ji Zhoutian, he had the strength to fight. Yun Xiao kissed Yun Luofeng's forehead and said softly, I'll be back soon. He raised his head and looked at Ji Zhoutian. His expression turned cold once again. Let's go. Ji Zhoutian laughed wildly. I'd like to experience the Ghost Emperor's power. Ghost Emperor? When the elders who had yet to leave heard Ji Zhoutian's words, all their gazes instantly landed on Yun Zhao's face. The headmaster had called him the Ghost Emperor? Could this man be the legendary Ghost Emperor who had destroyed the Limitless sect on his own? Yao Shu fainted from the shock. He could have offended anyone but the Ghost Emperor? Based on the Ghost Emperor's power, even if all the elders attacked him at the same time, they might not be his match. At that moment, Yao Shu finally understood why this man had dared to attack Meng Qi. He had the ability to look down on the West Continent College. The funny thing was, it was too late for regrets. Yao Mingqi lay on the bed, waiting for Yao Shu's good news. But in the end, a group of guards tied her up and dragged her to the penal court. What do you want? How dare you attack me? My master won't let you off. When the god heard this, he sneered coldly. You mean Elder Yao Shu? Oh no, he's no longer an elder. He can't even protect himself. How could he care about you? Unable to protect himself? Yao Mingqi shuddered, her face filled with terror. How could this be? How could father be unable to protect himself? Didn't he go find Yun Luofeng to vent his anger on him? Could it be that the elders of the East Courtyard stopped him? Don't try to scare me. I know that the people in charge of the criminal division are from the East Courtyard. Those old guys from the East Courtyard have always been on the opposite side of my master. It must be the people from the East Courtyard who want to take revenge on my master. That's why they ordered you to catch me. You'd better let me go, otherwise, my master will not let you go. Shut up. The guard felt that Yao Mingqi was too noisy, so he took off his socks and stuffed them into her mouth. A wave of foot odor assaulted Yao Mingqi's nostrils, almost causing her to faint. 2 streams of tears hung from the corners of her eyes as she let out a whimper. No matter how much Yao Mingqi struggled, she was eventually thrown into the criminal court. Mingqi! Yao Shu's heart broke when he saw Yao Mingqi thrown in. He scrambled over to Yao Mingqi, took the stinky sock out of her mouth, and threw it to the side. Father! Yao Mingqi threw herself into Yao Shu's arms, crying herself hoarse. Just now, those 2 guards were so rough with me. Father, you must take revenge for me. Tear them to pieces. Chapter 1278. Yao Shu's expression changed. He raised his hand to touch Yao Mingqi's back, but found that he did not know where to start. Yao Mingqi did not notice Yao Shu's strange behavior. She was still angrily complaining about the two guards, and even told Yao Shu to cut them into pieces. Mingqi. Yao Shu sighed and smiled bitterly. This time, I'm afraid I can't help you. Father. Yao Mingqi raised her teary eyes and looked at Yao Shu in confusion. Father, what do you mean? What do you mean by I can't help him? Your father's meaning is very simple. He can't even protect himself. How can he help you? It was unknown when Ling Hai had appeared in the criminal hall. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the father and daughter who were hugging each other with disdain. You're talking nonsense. Yao Mingqi glared at Ling Hai. My father is an elder like you. What right do you have to punish him? Ling Hai smiled coldly. You probably don't know, but the dean has returned. Furthermore, he personally sent your father to the criminal court. What? Yao Mingqi was stunned. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she looked down at Yao Shu. Father, he's lying to me, right? You're an elder of the school. Why did the dean send you to the criminal court to be punished? Yao Shu lowered his head. He did not dare to look at Yao Mingqi's bright eyes, afraid that he would break down. Yao Mingqi, you still dare to ask why he was punished? Isn't this all your fault? Ling Hai's eyes were sharp. You framed Yun Luofeng and caused your father to be punished. Yao Mingqi's body trembled. Her eyes flashed. What did you say? When did I frame her? Don't make things up. You took a liking to Yun Luofeng's husband and framed her so that your father would stand up for you. But you didn't know that our dean and Yun Luofeng were old friends. Because of this, he sent your father to the criminal court to be punished. The dean and Yun Luofeng were old friends? Yao Mingqi bit her lips tightly as her body trembled violently. Impossible. She didn't believe any of this. Absolutely not. Also. Ling Hai paused for a moment, then continued. The man you like is the Ghost Emperor who has recently caused a huge commotion in the Western continent. Boom. This last piece of news once again blew up Yao Mingqi's mind. Her mind was a complete mess, and she was completely unable to walk out from this kind of shock. That cold-faced man was the rumored Ghost Emperor? It was said that the Ghost Emperor wore a mask all year round, so no one knew what he looked like. Even he had guessed that the Ghost Emperor was so ugly that he didn't dare to show his face, which was why he used a mask. However, she never expected that the legendary Ghost Emperor would be so handsome. Yao Mingqi bit her lips tighter and tighter, blood dripping from her lips. She wanted to digest this information in her heart, but her mind was filled with the man's incomparably handsome face. Ling Hai, I will definitely take revenge on you for injuring me today. Furthermore, there are so many people in the Western continent who want to kill the Ghost Emperor. If I were to spread word of this, the Western Continent Academy would also be implicated. At that time, you will probably suffer the wrath of all the strong cultivators in the mainland. Yao Shu's eyes were fierce. His voice carried a hint of threat. Of course, if you let me go, I might keep this matter to myself forever. Chapter 1279. Ling Hai sneered. The dean has given his orders. Once you enter the criminal court, there is no need for you to leave. Tell me, how are you going to spread this news? Moreover, if I let you leave, I'm afraid the academy will truly be in danger. Boom. This news caused Yao Shu's body to tremble. He suddenly got up from the ground and charged at Ling Hai like a madman. I don't believe it. I don't believe that the dean would be so cruel. I have served the school for so many years. No, I want to see the dean. Let me see the dean. Get lost. Ling Hai roared in anger and violently pushed Yao Shu's body with his palm. He patted his clothes and sneered. Yao Shu, you and your daughter reap what you sow. If you hadn't targeted my disciple first, you wouldn't have ended up like this. Courtmaster Jean, the dean has ordered that these two cannot be left alive. With that, Ling Hai waved his sleeves, turned around and left. Father. Yao Mingqi looked hopelessly at Yao Shu, tears streaming down her cheeks. You must have a way to save me, I don't want to die. Yao Shu laughed bitterly. He couldn't even protect himself. How could he save Yao Mingqi? Mingqi, it was father who harmed you and father who couldn't protect you. I have offended the dean. Only death awaits me. Hearing Yao Shu's words, Yao Mingqi's face filled with despair. At this moment, she finally understood the meaning of regret. After Yun Luofeng left the school, She asked Hu Li to buy her medicinal ingredients. Fortunately, the Western continent had an abundance of medicinal ingredients. In a short while, Hu Li had brought the ingredients she needed. Once she had the ingredients, she went to the kitchen to brew the medicine. She then poured the little Loli's tears into the medicine pot. In an instant, a fragrant scent wafted into her nose, making her feel refreshed. Master, after you finish this bowl of medicine, your hand will recover. Little Mo stood beside Yun Luofeng and blinked her eyes as she spoke. Without hesitation, Yun Luofeng poured the medicine into the bowl and drank it in one gulp. As the medicine entered her body, she tried moving her right hand. Her originally immobile right hand could finally move freely. Her hand had completely recovered. I haven't exercised my right hand for a long time, so it's a little stiff. Little Mo, I'm going to practice. Remember to call me when Yun Xiao comes back. All right. Little Mo nodded. I will inform you when Yun Xiao returns. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng walked into the backyard without saying anything. However, Yun Xiao only returned when night fell. When Yun Luofeng saw Yun Xiao, he asked, "How is it? Who won between you and Ji Zhoutian?" In the face of Yun Luofeng's question, Yun Xiao replied honestly, "It was a draw." A draw? Is Ji Zhoutian so powerful? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes as a glint flashed across his eyes. Master, Ji Zhoutian is an old demon who has lived for so many years. How can he not be strong? Little Mo appeared out of nowhere and curled his lips. His childish face was filled with speechlessness. That was true. Compared to Yun Xiao, Ji Zhoutian had already lived for far too long. Otherwise, the Ji family would not have treated him as their ancestor, and he would not have become the academy's principal. Master, when you see Ji Zhoutian tomorrow, don't forget to ask for the fruit of the soul. Little Mo's eyes dotted around. Yun Luofeng came to the West Continent Academy for the fruit of the soul. Now that he had a relationship with Ji Zhoutian, how could he not make use of it? Fruit of the soul? Yun Xiao was silent for a moment before he took out a red fruit from his lapel. Are you talking about this? Chapter 1280. That's right, this is the fruit of the soul. Yun Luofeng took the scarlet fruit from Yun Xiao and asked in confusion, "Why do you have the fruit of the soul?" Ji Zhoutian threw it to me before he left. Although Yun Xiao regarded Ji Zhoutian as a rival in love, he would not hide what he had done. Hence, he told Yun Luofeng the truth. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's heart clenched. She put the fruit of the soul away and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. I will thank him properly the next time I see him. Yun Zhao's gaze fell on the young girl. You came to the West Continent Academy for the fruit of the soul. Yun Luofeng nodded. Xiaobai is injured, she needs the fruit of the soul to recover. Then why didn't you tell me? Yun Xiao took 2 steps closer to Yun Luofeng. As long as you say the word, I can snatch as many fruits of the soul as you want. Yun Luofeng shook her head. Yun Xiao, the elders of the East Academy have treated me well and have given their all for me. I don't intend to fall out with them, so I didn't tell you anything. Just as she finished speaking, the man's arm suddenly reached out and pulled her into his embrace. He kissed the young girl's lips fiercely. Don't look. Xiao Mo hurriedly covered her eyes. Master, Yun Xiao, you can kiss slowly. I won't disturb you. A cunning glint flashed across his eyes. He quickly walked out of the room and closed the door. Yun Luofeng was out of breath from Yun Zhao's kiss. After a long while, the man finally moved his lips away. She also took this opportunity to take a few deep breaths. Fenger. Yun Zhao's finger gently stroked the young girl's lips. In the future, don't hide anything from me. Meeting the man's deep black eyes, Yun Luofeng nodded gently. All right. No matter what you want, I can take it for you. Yun Xiao lowered his head and said with a determined expression, even if you want the entire world. As long as Yun Luofeng asked, so what if he took the entire world? If he could exchange it with a smile from her, the world was nothing. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes. She took 2 steps forward and pressed Yun Zhao's body tightly against the wall. She raised her head and kissed the man's lips forcefully. Yun Xiao, tonight, I'll be on top. Outside the courtyard, the night breeze blew gently. The man in red stood on the branch, his gaze fixed on the brightly lit courtyard. His long and narrow eyes flashed with an almost undetectable light. Master. Two beautiful maids landed behind the red-robed man and said respectfully, "Yao Shu and his daughter have been dealt with?" The red-robed man's voice was domineering and arrogant. A rose-like smile blossomed on his bewitching face. His smile was beautiful, but it was also sharp and unapproachable. Reporting to Master, Yao Shu wanted to escape with Yao Mingqi. This subordinate has already killed him. The maid lowered her head and respectfully replied, "All right, let's go. After disappearing for 10 years, I should let those people in the Western continent know that I'm still alive." Ji Jiutian flicked his sleeves and turned around. His red robes were like the scorching sun, exceptionally eye-catching in the dark night. The maids did not even dare to lift their heads. However, from the corner of their eyes, they could see the bruises on that beautiful face. Master was injured? The Ghost Emperor's power had already grown to such an extent that even their master had been injured by him? Chapter 1281. Western Continent. Inside the Continent Lord's mansion, a middle-aged man with a dignified expression sat upright on a chair at the head of the table. Below him were the leaders of the various powers, and two beautiful maids were behind the middle-aged man, lightly hammering his shoulders as they bowed and groveled. "Continent Lord, this Western Continent Academy is looking down on us too much. We've sent people to look for them a few times, asking them to join our ranks, but they've always rejected us." "That's right, the Western Continent Academy is too arrogant, completely looking down on everyone. Do they think that Ji Jiutian is still in the academy? Without Ji Jiutian, how can the Western Continent Academy be so arrogant?" Everyone looked at each other, denouncing the Western Continent Academy. In their eyes, Ji Jiutian had already disappeared for more than 10 years, which meant that he had given up on the Western Continent Academy. The current Western Continent Academy had long since fallen to the middle of the river, and was no different from them. If that was the case, what qualifications did the Western Continent Academy have to be arrogant? The middle-aged man slightly lowered his brows. It was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with the actions of the Western Continent Academy. A ruthless light flashed past his eyes, and he said coldly, "If the Western Continent Academy does not join us to encircle and annihilate the Ghost Emperor, then there is no need for the Western Continent Academy to exist." Continent Lord is wise. Everyone was overjoyed. They had long since disliked the Western Continent Academy. They really didn't know where these people got their arrogance from, to dare to look down on them. Now, with a single sentence from the Continent Lord, it meant that the Western Continent Academy, it would disappear in the long flow of history. "Continent Lord, I suggest that we bring our troops to attack the Western Continent Academy now." An old man stood up and said angrily, "It's good to let the people of the Western Continent understand how foolish it is to disobey the orders of the Continent Lord's mansion." The Continent Lord's mansion was the highest authority in the entire continent. The 7 continents had 7 countries, and the one who ruled over these 7 countries was the Continent Lord's mansion. It was no different from the dynasties of the other continents. "Let's go." It was unknown who waved his hand, but the others also stood up. Their voices of condemnation spread throughout the night sky of the entire Western Continent Prefecture. Everyone raised their fists, wishing that they could annihilate the Western Continent Academy and the Ghost Emperor at the same time. At that moment, a chuckle pierced through the air and reverberated in everyone's ears like thunder. "Who?" The Continent Lord's face suddenly darkened. His sharp gaze shot forward, and a murderous intent spread from his eyes. Under the night sky, the red robe was like blood, as if it had dyed the entire night red. The man was like an extremely seductive flower, beautiful yet dangerous, full of sharpness. After seeing the domineering face of the man, the expressions of the people from the Continent Lord's mansion changed from anger to shock, and finally turned pale. "I've only disappeared for 10 years, but you're already looking down on me? It seems like you want to taste the price of blood from more than 10 years ago again." The night breeze blew, lifting the man's blood-red robe. His eyes were smiling, and the corners of his lips curled up into an arrogant and unruly smile. If it was said that Yun Shao was a god of death, then he was undoubtedly a devil god. Even if it was just a smile, it would send chills down one's spine, leaving one so nervous that one would find it hard to breathe. Why are you back?" The Continent Lord's lips trembled. He looked at the domineering man standing under the night sky like a red rose in fear. Involuntarily, a chill rose in his heart, and his body gradually trembled. Chapter 1282. More than 10 years ago, They had tried to kill Ji Zhoutian just like how they had surrounded the Ghost Emperor today. They would never forget that day when blood dyed the entire western continent red. Corpses were everywhere, and countless ghostly wails and wolf howls resounded in the western continent for half a month. It could be seen how many vengeful souls had died in his hands. That day, the setting sun was as red as blood, and the man's red clothes were very bright. He was like a god of death that had walked out of hell. The sword in his hand was like a scythe that harvested lives, easily taking away a bright red life. Originally, the western continent's forces were not as backward as they were now. Back then, the western continent was one of the best among the 7 continents. It was because of that battle that the former continent lord had died at the hands of this man. Countless experts had been annihilated, causing the current western continent to fall behind to such an extent. Everything was caused by this man. Ji Zhoutian's domineering eyes gradually swept towards the continent lord. The smile on his beautiful face was filled with contempt. His eyes were as if he was looking at an ant, disdainful. Compared to the previous continent lord, you are really far inferior. At least when he saw me, his legs wouldn't tremble and he wouldn't even be able to sit steadily. Gulp. The continent lord swallowed hard and said with a trembling voice, Ji Zhoutian, I remember that more than 10 years ago, you were also injured quite badly. It seems that even now your strength has not recovered to its peak, Even if my legs and hands were crippled, it would still be easy for me to take your lives. What was insolence? Everyone present had experienced this word from this man. But who gave him the right to be arrogant? Regardless of whether Ji Zhoutian's strength had recovered or not, they did not dare to take this risk. The scene from more than 10 years ago had brought too much shock to their hearts. So much so that even now, it still made them feel fear. Not to mention fighting, they did not even dare to look at Ji Zhoutian. I came here today to tell you, don't think that just because I disappeared for 10 years, you can do whatever you want to the Western Continent Academy. The man slightly raised his eyebrows, his tone arrogant and domineering, incomparably insolent. Even if I don't like this Western Continent Academy, it is still left behind by my old friend. I have the right to let it exist forever. No one could say that a force could exist forever in this world. On this continent, if one was not careful, a force could be destroyed. However, no one dared to refute Ji Zhoutian. With Ji Zhoutian's power, the power he wanted to protect would definitely exist forever. Also, Ji Zhoutian laughed maniacally. The Ghost Emperor is not someone you can provoke. I advise you not to provoke him. The Continent Lord's face turned even paler. Ji Zhoutian, we can promise not to act against the West Continent Academy, but aren't you meddling too much? Our encirclement and annihilation of the Ghost Emperor is our business. It has nothing to do with you. This sentence, he said it very strongly, but his trembling legs had already revealed the fear in his heart. His long and narrow eyes fell on the Continent Lord and the smile on Ji Zhoutian's lips carried a trace of coldness. It is indeed your business to encircle and kill the Ghost Emperor, but if you hurt the little girl by his side, then I will have to interfere. In the Wuhui mainland, he did not care about Yun Luofeng's matters. He did not even provide her with any help. Chapter 1283. That was because he knew very well that the clowns of the Wuhui continent could not touch her. The 7 continents, on the other hand, were different. Before Yun Luofeng grew up, he had the obligation to sweep away all troubles for her. The Continent Lord's eyes widened in shock. He did not understand what Ji Zhoutian meant. Ji Zhoutian swept a cold glance at the Continent Lord. His domineering gaze contained a cold glint and murderous intent. If I find out that you dare to have any designs on the Ghost Emperor again, I will clean up the Western continent. The man's arrogant and unruly voice exploded in the Continent Lord's mansion. Even when the man in the blood-red robe turned around and left, the people of the Continent Lord's mansion had not regained their senses. After a long while someone asked, Continent Lord, what should we do next? What should we do? The Continent Lord laughed bitterly. What can we do? Are you going to offend Ji Zhoutian? That fellow is a madman who kills without blinking an eye. Continent Lord, an old man's eyes flickered and said, Ji Zhoutian is so powerful and he is not used by the Western continent. It's such a pity. Why don't we choose a woman to seduce him? All heroes have a weakness for the charms of beauties. As long as a woman can win his favor, he will definitely listen to our orders from then on. The Continent Lord laughed coldly. Have you forgotten how the war started more than 10 years ago? The daughter of the previous continent lord fell in love with Ji Jiutian at first sight. The previous continent lord doted on his daughter and thought of ways to let his daughter get close to Ji Jiutian. However, just as she expressed her love, she was thrown out by Ji Jiutian. She relied on the power of the continent lord's mansion to force Ji Jiutian. As a result, she completely angered that madman. What happened next was basically public knowledge. In a fit of rage, Ji Jiutian crippled the eldest daughter of the continent lord's mansion. This incurred the wrath of the experts of the western continent, and they began to hunt Ji Jiutian down. There were more than 10,000 experts in the western continent. Each of them was extremely powerful. However, that madman had carved out a bloody path in front of so many people. Trying to use a woman to lure a madman? As soon as you reveal your thoughts, you'll immediately become a dead soul under my blade. Therefore, this kind of thinking is useless to Ji Jiutian. The continent lord narrowed his eyes. Back then, the daughter of the previous continent lord, who was publicly acknowledged as the #1 beauty in the western continent, was not attractive to him at all. What kind of beauty do you think can attract his attention? Suddenly, a young man in the crowd spoke up. Just now, Ji Jiutian said that he helped the Ghost Emperor not because of the Ghost Emperor, but because of the woman by his side. If this woman is not by the Ghost Emperor's side, can we encircle and annihilate the Ghost Emperor? At this moment, the young man seemed to have forgotten what Ji Jiutian had said earlier. The Ghost the Arch was not someone they could provoke. It was precisely because they had neglected this sentence that the tragedy from 10 years ago had happened again in the western continent. That's a good idea. The continent lord's eyes flickered. Ji Jiutian is already very terrifying in the western continent. We can't have another Ghost Emperor. Therefore, we have to kill the Ghost Emperor before he matures. Otherwise, how would he be the continent lord of the western continent in the future? This continent lord will find someone to handle this matter. You guys can leave first. Also, no one is allowed to leak any information about today's meeting. If this continent lord finds out that someone has spread the news, this continent lord will hunt you down even if you are 1,000 miles away. I won't rest until you are dead. A murderous intent flashed across the continent lord's eyes. An awe-inspiring aura spread out from his body and was filled with killing intent. Chapter 1284. The Divine Grimoire Space. Just as Yun Luofeng appeared in the middle of the field, Xiao Emo spotted her and surrounded her with the other gold-seeking mice. Master! He called out obediently. His voice was so soft and adorable that it could melt anyone's heart. Have you fed her the fruit of the spirit? Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Ruobai, who was lying flat on the flowers, and asked. Xiao Emo nodded. This is the second fruit of the spirit. Now, there's only one left. As long as she consumes 3 fruits of the spirit, her soul will gradually recover. One more? Yun Luofeng gently stroked her chin as a light flashed in her eyes. It looked like it was time for her to leave the West Continent Academy and search for the 3rd fruit of the spirit. Master, congratulations on your right hand. It's finally back to normal. Xiao Mo's face lit up with a brilliant smile. Her eyes were like the stars in the night sky, flashing with a bright light. Perhaps there was nothing that made her happier than seeing Yun Luofeng's right hand recover. By the way, Master, when will you get more medicinal herbs? These herbs are not enough for the gold-seeking mice. Xiao Emo felt wronged and her eyes were full of resentment. Besides, the little tree needs medicinal herbs to grow. The more medicinal herbs there are, the faster it will grow. The spiritual herbs are not enough for them now. Yun Luofeng gently narrowed her eyes and swept them across the field under the blue sky. Wait until I find the 3rd fruit of the spirit. I'll come back and settle the matter here. Yun Xiao is still waiting for me outside. I'll be leaving first. Just as he finished speaking, a white light flashed and Yun Luofeng's figure disappeared. On the bed, the young girl had just opened her eyes when she met a pair of deep and serene eyes. At that moment, her soul seemed to be drawn into those eyes and she could not look away. Yun Xiao. You're awake. Yun Xiao hugged the young girl's body tightly from the side. His handsome and cold face lit up with a small smile. Even though his smile was very shallow, it was enough to deeply attract Yun Luofeng. She looked at the man before her and realized that she could not get enough of him. Especially his exquisite figure. She could not help but touch it forcefully. If you want to touch, you can touch as much as you want. The man's voice was low and hoarse, ringing in her ear like a curse. Once upon a time, This man was so adorable that he didn't even know what warming the bed meant. But the current Yun Xiao had already grown into a real man. Yun Xiao, tell me more about the forces in the 7 continents. Yun Luofeng knew that now was not the time to tease this man. She stretched lazily and rested her head on her hands. Her evil eyes stared at the man beside her with a smile. The man glanced at her. The 7 continents are divided into a few big continents. These big continents are the West Continent, East Continent, North Continent, South Continent, Central Continent, Ling Continent, and Beast Continent. Yun Luofeng was silent. Chan Yuqing had told her about these continents before. Among them, the Western Continent's power is the weakest. However, over a decade ago, the Western Continent wasn't at its current level. Yun Xiao muttered to himself for a moment before continuing. Over a decade ago, a single person had killed all the powerful cultivators in the Western Continent, including the Continent Lord, causing them to lag behind the Western Continent by 100 years. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows slightly. Who is that person? Ji Jiutian. Ji Jiutian? Yun Luofeng was a little shocked. Ji Jiutian had single-handedly challenged all the cultivators in the Western Continent. Does he actually have this kind of power? Chapter 1285. Yun Xiao, who is stronger between you and Ji Jiutian? Yun Luofeng asked after a moment of silence. Last night. Yun Xiao paused for a moment and said, he and I didn't use our true abilities, we only fought with our bare hands. So, I'm not clear about his strength. Hand-to-hand combat? The corner of Yun Luofeng's mouth twitched. No matter how strong Ji Jiutian was, he chose to fight Yun Xiao hand-to-hand. Wasn't this equivalent to admitting defeat? Yun Xiao had stayed in the forest of no return for 7 years, and he had long tempered a body of strength. If Ji Jiutian didn't use his spiritual energy, he wouldn't be his match. As for last night, when Yun Xiao claimed that the two of them fought to a draw, it was most likely because he could not figure out Ji Jiutian's strength, so he said that. Yun Xiao, do you know who Ji Jiutian is? Not only is he the ancestor of the Ji clan, he is also the dean of the West Continent Academy. Then he is definitely not just in his 20s. Yun Xiao's fingers lightly stroked Yun Luofeng's beautiful hair. He and Bai Su are the same kind of people. However, he is also different from Bai Su. Bai Su will harm you, but he won't. Logically speaking, he should have treated Ji Jiutian as a love rival after seeing how special Ji Jiutian was to Yun Luofeng. However, he didn't do so. Instead, he put in a good word for him in front of Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng held Yun Xiao's hand tightly. Yun Xiao, you don't oppose Ji Jiutian? Why are you speaking up for him? Yun Xiao lowered his eyelids. Hence, Yun Luofeng was unable to clearly see what kind of emotions existed in those deep and serene eyes. He can protect you. Yun Xiao. Feng if I'm by your side, protecting you is my responsibility. Even if I have to risk my life, I won't let you encounter any danger. Yun Xiao slightly raised her eyes, her slender fingers gently stroking the young girl's fine black hair. If there comes a day when I'm no longer around, then I hope that there will be someone else by your side to protect you. I don't want you to be in any danger, and I don't want you to die on this continent. The man's voice was very firm, so firm that Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly tightened. If I'm still alive, then protecting you for the rest of your life is my responsibility. If I'm gone, I naturally hope that someone can protect you on my behalf. That person was Ji Jiutian. As a man, if he wasn't by his wife's side and let another man protect her instead, he would definitely lose his dignity as a man. But to Yun Xiao, a man's dignity couldn't compare to hers. For her, he could put down his identity as a ghost emperor and give up all his pride. He was willing to serve by her side and take care of everything for her. In that case, was there anything he couldn't do? As long as she was alive, it was better than anything. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng suppressed the trembling in his heart and fiercely pressed his lips against Yun Xiao's. The words that escaped her lips were still trembling. In this life, only you are allowed to exist by my side. If you're gone, then I'll go to the ends of the earth. I will definitely find you. The girl's voice was extremely domineering. If you dare to leave me behind and go to hell, then I'll kill my way to hell and drag you out. Don't even think of leaving my side. Even the yellow springs of hell cannot stop me. No matter where you go, I will kill my way there and drag you out. If heaven obstructs me, I will defy it. If God obstructs me, I will kill God. If anyone obstructs me, I will turn this world upside down. Yun Xiao tightly hugged the girl's body and deepened the kiss. After a long time, he finally released his lips and stared at the girl in his arms with a resolute and serious gaze. Chapter 1286. You don't need to pull me. Even if I have to go to the 18th level of hell, I will crawl out myself to see you. After saying this, he kissed the girl's lips once again. The sheets on their bodies slowly fell to the ground. Within the curtains, only the two bodies could be seen entwined together. Finally, the girl turned over and pressed down on the man's body. Her fine black hair fell down, creating a unique scene. East Courtyard. All the elders had gathered and were discussing something. But at this moment, a handsome man and a beautiful woman walked in hand. When they saw the two people walking in, their eyes lit up. Disciple, why are you here? Ling Hai rushed forward excitedly. He looked at this disciple of his, liking him more and more. Yun Luofeng smiled, his gaze sweeping across all the elders present. I'm here to say goodbye. Goodbye? Ling Hai frowned. What, you're leaving? That's right, I still have something to do. Also. Yun Luofeng paused, then said apologetically, Teachers, I have to confess something. All the elders looked at each other, then looked at Yun Luofeng with puzzled eyes. Actually, I came to West Continent Academy and became your disciple because I have my own goals. Yun Luofeng's expression was full of apology. Initially, I sensed the existence of the fruit of the soul in this academy, that's why I wanted to come here. Fruit of the soul? All the elders were astonished. What's the fruit of the soul? They had stayed in this academy for so long, yet they still did not know where the fruit of the soul was. Yun Luofeng smiled. The fruit of the soul was hidden in the academy by Ji Zhoutian. Before he left, he had already brought it to me. But, after all, my goals in becoming your disciples were not pure. I'm sorry. These people really treated her as a disciple. For her, they did not hesitate to fall out with the West Continent elders. No matter what, she had to make things clear. At the same time, she was prepared to be scolded by all the elders. No matter who took in a disciple who was satisfied, if they found out that this disciple had ulterior motives, they would be bitterly disappointed. As expected, after hearing his words, all the elders fell silent, causing the entire East Courtyard to be filled with a silent atmosphere. Yun Xiao seemed to be afraid that Yun Luofeng would be nervous, so she gently squeezed her hand, allowing her power to pass into her body. Logically speaking, with Yun Luofeng's talent and her relationship with Ji Zhoutian, there was no need for her to explain it to the elders. There was no need for her to be as nervous as she was now. But she still came over to explain her purpose. Moreover, her expression did not change, but her heart was filled with nervousness, and her palms were unknowingly covered with sweat. Even though she had faced many experts over the years, she had never been as nervous as she was now. Suddenly, a chuckle came from the East Courtyard and broke the silence. Xue Ying covered her mouth and chuckled. I was wondering what was the matter. So it's just a small matter. Speaking of which, I still have to thank the soul fruit. If not for it, how would I have the opportunity to accept such an outstanding disciple? Yun Luofeng was stunned. He asked in disbelief. You're not angry? Angry? Ling Hai glared at Yun Luofeng. Why should we be angry? Are we angry that you didn't tell us this earlier? If you had told us earlier, I would have turned the entire West Continent Academy upside down to find the soul fruit. These people's gazes were not fake. They were also not so tolerant towards Yun Luofeng because of their respect for Ji Zhoutian. Chapter 1287. They really weren't angered by this matter. If they were angry, it would be Yun Luofeng who did not tell them about this earlier. In this way they could still help her. Yun Luofeng's heart was filled with gratitude. A smile appeared on her beautiful face. During the time that Ji Zhoutian is not around, if the academy encounters any danger, spread the news. As long as I hear it, I will rush back to help. Whether it was to repay Ji Zhoutian for helping her, or for these masters who had treated her as their disciple, she would not be stingy with her help. Disciple, Sukong smiled. With your talent, it won't be long before you become famous in the mainland. When that time comes, as your masters, we will also be proud. So, you don't have to feel sorry for what happened before. Just as Xue Ying said, we should be grateful for the fruit of the soul. Otherwise, how could we have received such an outstanding disciple like you? Su Kong was afraid that Yun Luofeng would blame herself for her previous deception. Hence, he repeated Shui Ying's words. I understand, Yun Luofeng cupped her fists. Masters, take care. Yun Xiao, let's go. Saying so, she looked at the elders one last time, turned around and walked out. Before she left, the atmosphere in the elders' court became quiet once again. Ling Hai secretly wiped the corners of his eyes. Su Kong glanced at him, walked over, patted his shoulder and said, Can't bear to part with your disciple? In my entire life, this is the first time I have received such an outstanding disciple. Do you think I can bear to part with her? Ling Hai glared at Su Kong, his expression full of grievance. Her path is very long. We cannot limit her footsteps. As long as we are fated, we will definitely meet again in the future. Shui Ying smiled. She did not feel too sad. After all, they were on the same mainland and there would definitely be a chance to meet again in the future. What's wrong with all of you? Why are all of you crying? An unclear voice sounded from outside the elders' court. Soon after, an old man slowly walked into the room. Our disciples are about to leave the academy. Ling Hai is sad about the separation. That's right, Extraordinary. Why are you back? Shui Ying raised her eyebrows, looked at Extraordinary who had appeared at the door and asked. Extraordinary was a little confused. What do you mean? Disciples of yours? All of you accepted a disciple at the same time? Who is so lucky to be chosen by you at the same time? Shui Ying smiled slightly and said, This is our good fortune to be able to accept such an outstanding disciple. Back then, when my disciple was taking the test, the spiritual energy in her body showed no signs of stopping. Because of this, we took a fancy to her talent, and because Su Kong and the others were also fighting to be her master, in the end, we unanimously decided to accept her as a disciple. Wait. Extraordinary scratched his head and frowned. I seem to remember that you promised me that the next genius would be my disciple? Really? Ling Hai, who was originally sad about the parting, immediately regained his senses when he heard this. He looked at the people beside him suspiciously. Which one of you said that? Why don't I remember? Su Kong and the others looked at the sky, pretending to have lost their memories. I don't remember either. I don't think I said something like that. Shui Ying, did you say it? I didn't either. I don't remember saying that at all. Extraordinary. You're thinking too much. None of us said anything like that. Chapter 1288. It's enough for my precious disciple to have 5 masters, no more, absolutely no more. Extraordinary. Don't even think about her. Extraordinary was so angry that his face turned the color of a pig's liver. These old fellows were really shameless. Not only did they snatch away his disciple when he was not around, they even refused to acknowledge it. I don't care if you remember or not. Anyway, that genius is my disciple. You must give up your position. You can't be so treacherous. How can we get along in the future? Su Kong coughed dryly. Ling Hai, Shui Ying, it's getting late. Let's go. Yes, it's getting late. Let's go. After saying this, the old men pretended not to see Fifen and walked out of the courtyard, leaving Fifen, who was livid with anger. You shameless old fellows, I want to cut off all ties with you. Extraordinary's roar resounded in the air above the entire elders' court. Unfortunately, no one responded for a long time. At the academy, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao walked side by side on the long lawn. The people around them all looked at them. Their eyes were filled with admiration. They did not know about Ji Jiuqian's appearance. They only knew that Yun Luofeng had crippled the disciple of the West Courtyard's elder. In the end, the West Courtyard's elder brought people to settle the score with her but was captured by the duties hall. For her sake, the 2 elders had even shed all pretenses of cordiality. Which disciple in the academy could cause such a stir? It seemed that ever since Yun Luofeng had come to the West Continent Academy, the academy had never been peaceful again. Yun Luofeng. Suddenly, a hurried voice rang out from behind her, causing Yun Luofeng to stop in her tracks. She turned around and saw Hu Li, who was drenched in sweat, walking quickly towards her. He was slightly out of breath. Yun Luofeng, are you leaving the academy? It has to be said that Hu Li's feeling was right. Yun Luofeng was indeed planning to leave the West Continent Academy. Yes. Yun Luofeng nodded and replied. Hu Li's lips curled into a smile. If you are leaving the West Continent Academy, I will go with you. Don't forget, I have already sold myself to you for 10 years. In these 10 years, I will not leave your side and protect you. Yun Luofeng raised her brows and turned to look at Yun Xiao. Only after seeing Yun Xiao nod at her did she look straight at Hu Li. Yun Xiao and I have too many enemies. If you follow us, you will encounter danger. Are you sure you want to follow me from now on? Actually, I was just telling you about the wager that day. I didn't really want you to pledge your loyalty to me. Hu Li's smile was enchanting and charming. I've never taken back what I've promised. What's more, I'm someone who has walked through the edge of a knife. Why would I be afraid of danger? If you're sure you're not afraid of the danger, I can let you follow me. I'm not afraid. Hu Li's eyes were full of flirtatiousness. Yun Luofeng, where do you plan to go next? Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao looked at each other before looking at Hu Li. There's no definite place to go. We'll take it one step at a time. Their goal was the soul fruit. She would go wherever there was a soul fruit. Since that's the case, if you don't mind, I'd like to return home first. All right. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment. Then I will follow you back. You're leaving now? That's right. Where's your son? Hu Li did not seem to notice that Xiao Mo was following behind Yun Luofeng and asked in surprise. Chapter 1289. Of course, Yun Luofeng would not tell him that little Mo had already gone to the divine grimoire space. So she said. He went to his wife's place. Indeed, Xiao Bai was lying in the divine grimoire space. Now that little Mo was waiting for her, did that not mean that he had gone to his wife's place? Master, in the divine grimoire space, little Mo heard Yun Luofeng's words and shouted rather plaintively, Xiao Bai and I are innocent, why did you come here to put us together? Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and smiled faintly. When I first met Yun Xiao, you often talked about dual cultivation in my ear. Little Mo was speechless. All right, just pretend that he had not said anything. Can't I keep quiet? In any case, I will never marry. Oh no, I will never marry Lin Ruobai. What kind of world is this? Yun Luofeng, who was about to continue teasing little Mo, heard Hu Li wail. Even a little brat like your son has a wife. I am still single. I can only spend the rest of my life with Miss Five Fingers. Hu Li's expression was very sad as she said aggrievedly. Yun Luofeng curled his lips into a smile. You seem to only need to beckon and there will be a lot of women coming to you. Yun Xiao seemed to be a little jealous that Yun Luofeng and Hu Li were talking so much. He hugged Yun Luofeng's waist tightly and glanced at Hu Li with warning eyes. Hu Li did not notice the man's warning eyes at all and continued, I have no interest in those vulgar women. You talk too much. As soon as he finished speaking, a low and cold voice suddenly sounded, causing Hu Li to shiver from the bottom of his heart. Yun Luofeng's man was really a big vinegar jar. Yet, only Yun Luofeng could subdue this kind of man. I will say one last thing, Hu Li pouted aggrievedly. Yun Luofeng, the first genius on the heaven list is looking for you, saying that he wants to duel with you. Not interested. Yun Luofeng threw down this sentence with a deadpan expression. As if already knowing her choice, Hu Li smiled. The first person on the heaven list is a real lunatic. As long as she took a fancy to someone, she would keep pestering you until you fought her. In any case, everyone in the academy would take a detour when they saw her. However, they were obviously thinking too much. That madman was only willing to fight with those who were strong. You'd better not let her see it. Otherwise, she'll definitely torture you to battle with her. The genius ranked first on the heaven list was considered a legend in the Western Continent Academy. She had broken through to become a saint ruler in her early 20s, and her outstanding talent had caused all the elders in the academy to fight for her. However, the arrogant her refused to acknowledge any elder as her master. In her life, only fighting was the most carefree thing. At that moment, Yun Luofeng still didn't know that in the near future, she would finally meet the #1 genius on the heaven roll. Moreover, he occupied a very important position in her life. Some people, from strangers to acquaintances, and then to acquaintances, only needed a process. This process was war. At this time, Yun Luofeng didn't know that after getting to know her, that genius had sacrificed more than his entire life. Furthermore, it was life. If she dares to come. The man's voice was low. She can try. Hu Li's mouth twitched. How could she forget about this man? With this man beside Yun Luofeng, she probably would not be able to get close to Yun Luofeng. Let's go. Yun Luofeng shrugged, turned around and said. Chapter 1290. At the entrance of the courtyard. The guards had just respectfully sent Yun Luofeng and the others off when they felt a gust of wind behind them. By the time they reacted, a gust of wind had blown past, accompanied by a fiery red dress. It almost sent them flying to the ground. That person rushed to the entrance and frowned as she looked in the direction that Yun Luofeng and the others had left. She pondered for a moment, then turned to look at the two dumbfounded guards. Have you seen Yun Luofeng? The woman's red dress was brighter than blood. She raised her chin and looked down from above. When the two guards saw who it was, they swallowed hard, and their legs trembled. She has already left. Whoosh. As soon as she finished speaking, the fiery red dress had already disappeared. There was only the sound of a gentle breeze at the entrance of the courtyard. This sound indicated that what they had just seen was not a dream. Why? Why is she looking for Yun Luofeng? One of the guards felt his heart tremble violently. Could it be that this crazy woman is looking for someone to challenge again? I feel that whoever she fancies will be very miserable. A look of sympathy appeared in the other guard's eyes. Whoever this crazy woman fancies will be hunted down by her. She is like a grasshopper, sticking to you and refusing to let go, until you are willing to fight with her. Of course you cannot defeat her. If you can defeat her, then from then on, she will endlessly chase after you and endlessly challenge you. This lunatic, the reason why her strength had improved so quickly was definitely related to her tenacious and shameless character. She remembered that when she had just entered the academy, she had started to challenge disciples on the Earth list and climbed up the Sky list step by step. Originally, when she first challenged the former number 1 on the Sky list, she had been defeated. She had lost terribly and had to recuperate for half a year to recover from her injuries. However, her injuries had just healed, so she continued to challenge again. She was defeated again and again, but the more she fought, the braver she became. In the end, her ability finally surpassed the former number 1 on the Sky list and replaced her. It was also after that time that everyone in the academy was terrified of her. In this academy, she was completely isolated and had no friends or confidants. On top of that, she had an arrogant personality and never paid attention to those who were weaker than her. However, ever since she climbed to the top of the Heaven leaderboard, she never challenged anyone again. The biggest reason was that those people were too weak, so she did not take them seriously. Now, the person who made her regain her confidence in challenging was Yun Luofeng. If she did not fight with Yun Luofeng, she would not rest. Tell me, can anyone afford to provoke such a lunatic? Should we tell the elders about this? The two guards glanced at each other. In the end, they still went to report this matter to the elders to prevent Yun Luofeng from being entangled by this madman. When Hu Li stopped at the city gate of Luohua City, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao also stopped. She looked at the somewhat uneasy Hu Li and raised her eyebrows slightly. You're not going in? A hint of struggle flashed in Hu Li's eyes. My family is a medical family, but I'm not interested in medicine. 3 years ago, my father wanted to force me to learn medicine. I was unwilling and he planned to force me. In a fit of anger, I left the family and haven't returned for 3 years. After my brother found out that I was in the West Continent Academy, he also came to the academy. However, in these 3 years, he was afraid of making me unhappy, so he didn't tell me about what happened to my family, so I don't know if my father has forgiven me. Chapter 1291. Hu Li felt remorseful when he thought of what had happened in the past. How could he not miss home in the past 3 years? However, he had an unrestrained personality and did not want to be tied down by his father. Moreover, he felt guilty towards his father, so he had not returned for 3 years. Now that he was at his doorstep, he did not know how to step in. Yun Luofeng patted Hu Li's shoulder. Since you're back, let's go take a look. Okay. Hu Li's eyes gradually regained their calm. He took a deep breath and stepped into the city gate. He did not know if it was an illusion, but he felt that when the people on the street saw him, their eyes first flashed with shock, then immediately filled with sympathy. Hu Li's heart skipped a beat and he quickened his pace to rush back to his family. After not returning for 3 years, his family had already changed a lot. The courtyard was no longer the bustling city it used to be. The 2 stone lions by the door had also been taken away and the steps were covered with red cloth. It was festive yet unfamiliar. Then when Hu Li raised his head, He found that the once ordinary Hu characters had also become inlaid with gold. Everything was completely different from when he had left. Hu Li took a deep breath and calmed the anxiety in his heart. He walked forward and gently knocked on the door. Not long after, the door was opened and a sneaky little boy stuck his head out. "You, Hu Tao, why are you at my house?" Hu Li's pair of fox-like eyes widened in shock as he stared at the little boy who had appeared at the door. Hu Tao was the son of his second uncle's family. Second uncle and his father had never been on good terms. So why was his second uncle at the Hu family's house? Bang! Hu Tao was also stunned when he saw Hu Li. With a loud bang, he smashed the door hard and refused to let Hu Li in. At this moment, Hu Li recalled the looks he had seen from the people on the street and his handsome face instantly darkened. "Hu Tao, open the door! This is my house. I'm not opening it." Hu Tao's proud voice came from inside the door. Bang! Hu Li lifted his leg and kicked the door open. With just one kick, he sent the door flying. Hu Tao's small face turned pale, perhaps because he was frightened by Hu Li's actions. He looked at Hu Li in horror as he walked through the door. Hu Li's handsome face was livid as he strode in. He grabbed Hu Tao's clothes and asked coldly, "Where is my father? Where did my brother go? Why did my Hu clan become your people?" Some time ago, Hu Lin had already returned to the Hu family. That was why Hu Li had asked him where his big brother was. "Let me go." Hu Tao struggled hard in Hu Li's hands. "Some time ago, when your father was treating someone, he caused the person to die. He paid a large sum of money to someone else and even borrowed a lot of money from my father. He used this house to pay off his debts." Hu Tao was young, but every word that came out of his mouth was sharp. "Hu Li, you ran away from home and haven't returned for 3 years. What right do you have to question me? You piece of trash. Hit him." Bang! Hu Li raised his hand and flung Hu Tao to the ground. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked and the veins on his forehead bulged. "Tell me, where is my father now?" Hu Tao burst into tears. "He's in the slums in the west of the city." "Boo-hoo, you bullied me. I'm going to tell my dad and ask him to kill your whole family. If you say one more word, I'll strangle you to death right now." Sure enough, Hu Tao fell silent when he heard Hu Li's threat. His eyes turned red and he did not dare to say another word. He did not even dare to cry out loud. Chapter 1292. Hu Li turned around with a pale face. He looked at Yun Luofeng and said, "I'm going to settle some personal matters. Wait for me here. Let's go together." Yun Luofeng glanced at Hu Li and said, "Okay." Hu Li nodded and strode out of the courtyard, quickly looking in the direction of the slums. The Hu family used to be a famous family here, especially Hu Li's father, who was known as a famous doctor of his generation. There were countless people who had been cured by him. Therefore, Hu Li only needed to ask and he would be able to get the most accurate direction of his father. At this moment, in a house in the slums, an old man walked out with the help of a man. The old man's hair was white, his face was old, and his face was full of wrinkles, like a chrysanthemum. If Yun Luofeng was here, he would definitely recognize that the person supporting the old man was Hu Lin, whom he had defeated in his first challenge. "Big brother, you've finally come out." The middle-aged man sneered at the old man, his lips curling into a sarcastic arc. "When are you going to pay me back for what you owe me?" "Hu Youwu, don't think that I don't know that you deliberately framed my father. Back then, in order to fight for the power of the Hu family, you schemed to drive my father out of the family. My father no longer fought for a single cent and came out to establish his own family. Now that you saw that his medical skills were excellent and he had some authority in Luohua City, you harbored hatred in your heart and schemed again, causing my father to have an accident when he was treating a patient so that he could borrow money from you." Hu Lin gritted his teeth in anger and glared fiercely at Hu Youwu. Hu Youwu sneered, his lips curling into a sarcastic smile. "It's your father's medical skills that were not good enough and he killed someone. What does that have to do with me? His medical skills were originally half-baked and useless. He can't be compared to me." "You!" Hu Lin clenched his fists tightly. "My brother is now very famous. When he comes back, he will definitely avenge my father. When that time comes, you will definitely die miserably." "Ha ha ha!" Hu Youwu laughed out loud. "Are you talking about that Hu Li who ran away from home for 3 years? Tes SK, if she was really doing so well in the academy, How could she not have returned for 3 years? From what I can see, he is clearly doing too badly, yet you still dare to brag that he has broken through to the Saint King realm. And he even entered the heaven roll? What a joke. Even my, Hu Youwu's, son doesn't have this ability. What right does Hu Li have to enter the heaven roll? Hu Li's current strength was that of a Saint King. Although he was no longer considered a low-level existence in the continent, he was not so strong that he could not be stronger. Of course, the prerequisite was to ignore his age. After all, Hu Li was already a Saint King at the age of 25. In the entire Western continent, perhaps only those people from the Western Continent Academy had such strength. More importantly, there was probably no one who did not know what the Western Continent Academy's heaven list represented. Once he entered the heavenly ranking, he would definitely attract the attention of the elders in the academy, and would even be taken in as a disciple by those elders. At that time, wouldn't it be equivalent to the power of the Western Continent Academy being used by him? If Hu Li had really reached the heaven list, he would not have dared to do so. Unfortunately, Hu Li had been missing for 3 years. If he had really made a name for himself, wouldn't he have come back to show off? How could he not return for 3 years? This was also the reason why Hu Youwu did not take Hu Li seriously. Who did you say has been missing for 3 years? Just as Hu Youwu was mocking him, a gloomy voice came from behind him. Chapter 1293. Hu Lin's body shook. He raised his head and looked at Hu Li, who was slowly walking towards him. His heart filled with joy and he hurriedly exclaimed, "Second brother, you're back? Ah! Yun Luofeng, why are you here as well?" That day, after his battle with Yun Luofeng, Hu Lin had rushed back to Luohua City due to an urgent matter. He had not even gone to watch their subsequent battle. Now that he thought about it, he had left in such a hurry probably because of this unforeseen event. Because of this, he could not understand why Yun Luofeng would stand together with Hu Li. I'll tell you about this later. Hu Li raised the corners of his lips and an enchanting smile appeared on his handsome face. However, his fox-like eyes were still filled with gloominess and murderous intent. I was the one who told you to get lost. It's better if you get lost yourself. Hu Youwu's eyes sank and he sneered, I'm only here to collect the debt, not to settle it with you. Similarly, I'm not such a heartless person. On account of your reunion as father and son today, I'll give you 1 more day. If you don't repay the debt by tomorrow, don't blame me for disregarding our brotherhood. Let's go. He fiercely flung his sleeves and led the group of people towards the back. Father! Hu Li stared at the old man in front of him. He could not believe his eyes and his eyes began to sting. In 3 years, his father, who had been in the prime of his life, had become unbearably old and had 1 foot in the grave. However, he was not even 50 years old. One could imagine what kind of life he had led during this period of time. You unfilial son, who allowed you to come back? The old man's elderly face sank as he fiercely hit his walking stick and berated him sternly. Father, how did you become like this? Hu Li trembled as she reached out to touch her father's head of white hair. In the end, she weakly put her hand down. Brother, why didn't you tell me about these things? The family had undergone such a great change, yet he had never known about it. He had been living a carefree life in the academy. Hu Lin looked at the old man next to him and said, It was father who didn't want me to tell you. He felt that it wasn't easy for you to have the life you have now and didn't want these things to disturb you. That's why I didn't tell you. Stop. The old man stomped his walking stick again and turned around. His old body seemed a little weak. There's no need to talk about these things anymore. Bring your friend in and have a seat. The moment the old man turned around, he secretly lifted his sleeve and wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. Second brother, why is Yun Luofeng here? Hu Lin frowned. Clearly, he was still unhappy that Yun Luofeng had defeated him. Hu Li was speechless. I lost to her and pledged my loyalty to her for 10 years. This time, I left the academy with her and came back to visit my father. Hu Lin was shocked, but he also understood that this wasn't the time to talk about such things. He looked away from Yun Luofeng and turned to Hu Li. Actually, after you left that year, father also regretted it. He felt that he shouldn't have forced you to do something you didn't like, but you know his personality. He's too stubborn and will never admit his mistakes. In these 3 years, because of Hu Youwu's suppression, father's life has been getting worse with each passing year, but he never allowed me to tell you. He was afraid that it would distract you. He didn't want to be a stumbling block for you. Looking at his stooped father, Hu Li's heart ached even more. Suddenly, he knelt on the ground with a bang and shouted, "Father, I was wrong." Chapter 1294. The old man's body trembled and he slowly turned around. At this moment, he could no longer hold back his tears. "Li, it's good that you're back." Hu Li's head was buried in the ground. He had missed too much in the past 3 years. Even his father had become so old and was no longer as spirited as before. But no matter how much he suffered, he had to bear it alone. Even though he knew that he was doing well in the academy, he did not want to disturb him. Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao stood silently behind Hu Li. No one made a sound to disturb him. They knew that at this moment, Hu Li needed to vent the guilt and pain in his heart. "Get up." The old man leaned on his walking stick and walked in front of Hu Li to help him up. The father and son put aside their previous enmity and cried in each other's arms. "Li, are these two your friends?" The old man wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and looked at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. Hu Li nodded. "Her name is Yun Luofeng. She comes from the Western Continent Academy like me, and is the disciple of the Academy's 5 elders. As for this young master, he is Yun Luofeng's father, Yun Xiao. I lost to Yun Luofeng in a battle and will serve her for 10 years. This time, I left the Western Continent Academy to embark on another journey with her." The old man's eyes showed gratitude. "Actually, I already knew that Hu Li does not like to be too restrained. He is unrestrained and loves freedom. The Western Continent Academy is only a place for him to stay. He was afraid that I would not be able to find him, so he stayed in the academy. Now, because of your appearance, he has regained the confidence to chase after his dreams. This old man should thank the two of you." Yun Luofeng did not speak. Her eyes swept over the old man's leg and she asked in a low voice, "Is there a problem with your leg?" The old man smiled bitterly and nodded. "Previously, when I was saving someone, I accidentally treated him and he died. This leg was broken by them. Originally, with my medical skills, I had a 50% chance of restoring it, but unfortunately, I lost all my money to the deceased's family and even owed a lot of debts. I can't even afford the medicine, which led to bone necrosis. It's impossible for me to stand up again. Father, I have money. I can buy medicine for you." Hu Li stood up from the ground and took out his spatial ring. He placed all his belongings in the old man's hand. "Hurry up and buy the medicine." The old man shook his head. "If it was a few days ago when my leg was broken, I would still have a 50% chance. Now, I don't even have a 10% chance." Hu Li's head drooped as he gripped the spatial ring in his hand tightly. His heart wrenched violently. If he had been in Fallen Blossom City during those few days, he would never have let anyone bully his father like that. If he had never left the family, his father would not have encountered such a thing. All of this was his fault. Hu Li hammered his head fiercely, wanting to smash his head with all his might. "Little brother." Hu Lin was shocked. He rushed forward and grabbed Hu Li's hand. "What are you doing? No one is blaming you. Besides, it was father who told me not to say it. It has nothing to do with you. Let me go." Hu Li struggled out of Hu Lin's grasp. Just as Hu Lin was about to continue grabbing onto Hu Li, a cold voice came from the side. "Let him go. If he wants to smash, let him. If he wants to die, I'll send him on his way." Hearing this, Hu Lin turned his head angrily. "Yun Luofeng, what do you mean by that?" Chapter 1295. What do I mean? Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a sinister smile. Hu Li knows very well what I mean. At a time like this, instead of thinking about how to help your father, you're torturing yourself first. Your father is already in so much pain. Do you want him to suffer even more for you? Hu Li's hand slowly drooped. His handsome face turned increasingly pale and ashamed. "Hu Li, I had asked you to follow me not because of your evasive personality." Yun Luofeng's black eyes were domineering and insolent. "I lack people who dare to take responsibility for their actions by my side. So, you should be thinking about how to avenge your father, not how to punish yourself." Hu Li smiled bitterly and said, "You're right, now is not the time for me to punish myself. I must first deal with the person who hurt my father, then I can continue to apologize to my father." Yun Luofeng's words were indeed a little heartless, but there was nothing wrong with them. They were like a hammer that smashed into Hu Li's heart, calming him down. When he saw the calm and reflective Hu Li, Yun Luofeng shifted his gaze to the old man's crippled right leg. Your leg, it's not that there's no way to treat it. The old man's body stiffened. After a long pause, he shook his head. I'm a doctor myself. I know the injury to my leg very well. There's no way to treat it. If I say that you can be saved, then you can be saved. Yun Luofeng raised his brows. Hu Li, go buy some medicinal herbs for me. All right. Hu Li had unconditional trust in Yun Luofeng. Since he said that his father could be saved, then there must be a way. After a while, Yun Luofeng wrote down the medicinal herbs he needed on a piece of paper and handed it to Hu Li. After receiving the prescription, Hu Li quickly rushed towards the medicine shop in Luohua City. There was a commotion in the medicine shop. Hu Li had just rushed over when he bumped into someone he did not want to see. That person was also shocked when he saw Hu Li. He then laughed icily. Hu Li, my father had just said that you've returned, but I did not believe him. I never thought that you would really return. Could it be that you can no longer stay in the West Continent Academy? So you've returned to Luohua City? Hu Li's expression turned cold. Get lost. Have you grown a temper after staying outside for so long? When you were in Luohua City, you didn't dare to talk to me like this. The young man hugged the woman with both hands and walked over with his belly protruding. His face was pale and his steps were unsteady. It was obvious that he had overindulged in his lust. Even if I can't survive in the Western Continent Academy, I can still kill you with one hand. Hu Li snorted. 3 years ago, I didn't do anything to you because my father didn't allow me to. Later on, I even dared to resist his orders. Could it be that I still don't dare to touch you now? Shockingly, the young man before him was Hu Youwu's eldest son, Hu Tao's elder brother. This fellow had always been against him in Luohua City, but his father did not allow him to stir up trouble outside. Hence, no matter how many times he was provoked, he gritted his teeth and endured it. Now that his father had been harmed so miserably, how could he continue to endure? Hu Li, your father killed someone, and his reputation has already been ruined. You still dare to go out? Aren't you afraid that the family of the deceased will come looking for you? While talking to Hu Li, the young man could not help but reach out and pinch the buttocks of the woman beside him. The woman cried out in pain and looked at the young man shyly. Young master, you're hurting me. Chapter 1296. Ha ha, the young man laughed and laughed vulgarly in the woman's ear. Wait until tonight, I will make you feel even more pain. The woman lowered her head shyly. When the young man did not see her, a trace of disdain flashed across her eyes. Just him? He still wants to make me feel pain? Perhaps even a toothpick would be more powerful than him. If it was not for the fact that Hu Rui was more generous and the fact that the Hu family was also an aristocratic family in Luohua City, she would not even bother to comply with him. When Hu Li saw Hu Rui making such a wretched gesture in front of him, a trace of disgust flashed across his eyes and his voice became colder. Get lost. When he said this, an imposing aura suddenly burst out. Hu Rui did not know what was going on, but his body suddenly flew out and crashed into the crowd with a bang. Hu Li brushed his sleeves and walked in with large strides. He threw the prescription on the table and said coldly, Take out these medicinal ingredients. The shopkeeper looked up at him indifferently. I'm sorry, this shop does not have the medicinal ingredients you want. Hu Li had not returned for 3 years and everyone said that he was worse than a dog. Looking at his poor appearance, he could not afford to buy medicinal ingredients. Moreover, even if he could afford it, in order not to offend the Hu family, he would not sell it to him. Are you sure you don't have it? Hu Li narrowed his eyes slightly and threatened coldly. Go, 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 the shopkeeper said impatiently. Hurry up and leave. I already said we don't have these medicinal ingredients. Just as he finished speaking, he felt a chill on his neck, causing him to shiver. His eyes swept down slightly. When he saw the sword on his neck, his face turned pale and his voice trembled. Young Master Hu Li, I was just joking. Hu Li sneered, Take out the medicinal ingredients or I will kill you immediately. A kind person would be bullied. A kind dog would be ridden by others. Only when one is evil would others fear him. At this moment, Hu Li deeply understood this point. 3 years ago, he was in Luohua City. Even though his father was chased out of the Hu family, his reputation was still flourishing. Who in the entire Luohua city did not give him face? Now that his reputation had fallen, these people turned their backs on him. Then why should he be polite to them? The shopkeeper trembled as he grabbed the medicinal herbs that Huli needed from the medicine cabinet. One by one, he wrapped them in yellow paper and carefully handed them to Huli. At this moment, his hands were trembling. "You! The medicinal herb you wanted." Huli raised her eyebrows and asked, "How much silver?" "No, I don't want silver." How could he still dare to ask Huli for money? Being able to stay alive was already good enough. Huli looked coldly at the shopkeeper and casually threw down a pool of silver. "I'm not the kind of person who takes things from others without giving them money. I'll give you the silver. In the future, I won't come to your medicine store anymore." With that, Huli turned around and left. At this moment, there was a commotion in the crowd. Huli had just stepped out of the medicine shop when a group of people surrounded him. Those people were dressed in mourning clothes, and their faces were full of grief. When they saw Huli at the door of the medicine shop, their grief turned into anger. "Bastard of the Hu clan! Pay with your life! Your father killed my son. I want you to pay with your life." A middle-aged man angrily pounced on Huli. His hand was wrapped in a layer of spiritual power, and he wanted to hit the top of Huli's head. Before he could reach Huli, he was shaken away by the aura of Huli's body. Ouch! The middle-aged man fell to the ground and cried bitterly. "This bastard's father killed my son. I want him to pay with his life, but he still wants to hit me. You guys judge, is there still law in this world?"